Good Tuesday afternoon to you on this August 4th, 2020. We have the same setup today as we did yesterday. We are Sportstime. You got Brett and Dave with you and Drew with you until 6 o'clock tonight, and we want you to be a part of our show, and you always can be, at the First Bank text line, 67129, or at the First Bank phone line, 360-8255. 25 days until the start of college football. Unbelievably, some of those games are still sitting out there on that schedule for Saturday, August 29th. I hate to be a cynic. I really do. I like to be a sunshiny, ebullient, happy-go-lucky person. I really do. I think mostly that is me. I got to see it to believe it on Saturday, August 29th, Dave Woloshin.
I would love to be positive, too. I don't know how, let's say you're a University of Memphis fan, how you could think that that would be the case on the 5th, that there would be football, because we don't even know what direction the president's meeting tomorrow is going to be like. So before we could put down anything really set in stone, let's let, at least in the case of the American, let's let the presidents have their meeting tomorrow. I think they do hope to, by the end of this week, have some form of real plan, and maybe it will be to go forward on September the 5th. I think if we were looking and being realistic, that might be jumping the gun. There were some positive signs today from Bruce Randolph with the Shelby County Health Department. By the way, they say it's not up to them to decide if there's going to be high school football. That's going to be up to the schools, which I found very intriguing. And we probably in the next few days need to get with some coaches or some, even Joris Ray, the superintendent of schools, to see where they are really sort of thinking and what direction they want to head into. But, I think the SEC actually was the leader when they said, whoa. We're going to do the conference games because we think that's the safest. It gives us the biggest leeway, and we're buying ourselves 3 weeks. We're not starting till the 26th. I'll be shocked if there's any college football before September the 26th. I really will. I know there are some that believe August the 29th. Well, that is, as you said, we're talking 25 days from now. I just can't imagine that would be the case. Got to see it to believe it. as far as we have planned ahead, when you see two baseball teams still not playing, they're the ones not in the bubble. Hockey, NBA, they're in bubbles. They're doing well, but that's just not feasible for any other sport.
It's just not, Dave. And like we closed with yesterday, and we do not mean it. We sure don't mean it adversarial with our great listening public, and we don't mean it rancorous. We're here to cover it all. We're going to take the good with the bad. If it's a good lie or a bad lie, if there's ants around the ball, there could be ants around the ball. If we're inbounds, we're going to talk about it. If we're out of bounds, we're going to talk about it. Never mistaking it for that we don't want it. It's a big part of my life. Never mind the income. Never mind the income. It's a big part of me, of what I'm about, what I love, what I enjoy doing, and who I enjoy doing it with. Not to mention this show with you and Drew daily, but my college football work, and I know I can speak for you in this case. The news is a mixed bag a lot of days. I will take it as a positive, though, Dave. I mean, these last few weeks and days, this has been much better than those days of April and May. I mean, at least, I don't know if you're the biggest hockey fan. I'm not, although sometimes I play a hockey expert on the radio, or at least pretend to be one. And Drew definitely is a hockey expert, and you think you are because you played youth hockey, but you're really not. But I mean, if you wanted to, and I don't know many people that can do this, even with stay-at-home job responsibilities, but if you wanted to just have the orgy of sports, you got it these days. I mean, there's playoff hockey on from 11 o'clock in the morning to 11 at night. There's some form or fashion of NBA in the bubble, and the quality of play in the bubble has been tremendous. It's on from basically high noon to to bedtime every day. Baseball has always been this time of year. Dog days of August, they back off a little bit on daytime baseball, but this year being the exceptional year that it has been, there's baseball on just about every waking moment from 11:30 noon on. We got a golf major this week. So we've got a lot more right now in front of us as sports fans, as sports consumers, as people like us and like you that are listening love it. We got a heck of a lot more than we did in April and May, Dave.
Well, and if we're going to be positive about these things and what we try to be, I think for the most part, this show has always been a half full kind of a show. I think we try to be as honest as we possibly can, but I think for the most part, we, and I speak on behalf of you, myself, and Drew, and if you've listened to me, and I've been doing a call-in radio show of some kind in Memphis minus 1 year since 1983, I think you know by now we try to look on the positive side of the fence. I do. And I think if we're being totally honest here, I think basketball and hockey and golf will continue. I don't think there's any question. They figured it out. It's pretty much fanless, and it's pretty much we're in a bubble, and they've had positive results. They've weathered some storms. Golf did early, and I think for sure they are going to finish their seasons. Now, I'm not so sure about baseball, and I really wish the commissioner would heed his own protocols, his own idea to begin with. When they said, we've got a 60-man roster, we're going to try to play through this pandemic, he should have lived up to that billing. You're talking about 7 St. Louis Cardinal baseball players, of which you've got Paul DeYoung and, of course, the biggest name, Yadier Molina. Every one of those other players is pretty much 60-man roster, I think. Maybe Edmundo Sosa, is he on the 40? Maybe. But for the most part, why didn't they say next man up? Let's move. Let's go away from Milwaukee with every healthy person after the tests were taken and move on to the next city, and you're going to play Detroit with the team you got. I don't know why he did not do that. I do not understand that. But now the Chicago Cubs are 8-2. They've played 10 games, and the team that's trying to catch them has only played 5 games. 5 games. And by the time they play, the Cubs will have played another 2 games. And I don't understand why the commissioner hasn't said, we put 60 men on a roster for a reason. Marlins, Cardinals, healthy people. You guys are tested. We know you're healthy. Let's go. Next man up.
Amen. Every syllable I agree with. And Dave, if this were not the Cardinals as the example, if it were just the Marlins, or if it were the Cubs, or if it were the Yankees, or if it were the Mariners, you think of your premier team and you think of your nondescript team, I would be saying the same thing, and I would be saying if this were the Cardinals, I would be saying the same thing. So it is the Cardinals, and I'm saying this. You are right. Look, I don't think it should be this difficult. Maybe a game or 2 or 3, but Jack Flaherty and Adam Wainwright have pitched one time in this 2020 season. Once. That can't be good for either one of them, young or old alike, to miss this much. We know baseball is a game of rhythm, a game of routine, the endlessness of it, the timelessness of it. And for Yadier Molina, probably my favorite Cardinal ever. If he's not, he's second or third. Look, get him and the positives, the infected ones. They're all asymptomatic, but get them away from the healthy ones. Get the healthy ones way away from the infected ones. You bring up a catcher. You bring up a shortstop. You bring up some more pitchers. You put somebody with St. Louis Cardinals on the front of that uniform, and you play ball. If you get beat 11-1, tough toenails.
I couldn't say it any more clearly than you just have. We both are on the same page here. It's up to Rob Manfred, the commissioner, to basically enforce the ideas and the protocol that he had to begin with. And I'm a little uncertain. You know, maybe the Marlins took him a bit by surprise, and he wanted to be doubly sure. Okay. But in the case of the Cardinals, he now has a blueprint. He should see what's going on. And and direct the Marlins and direct the Cardinals to start playing. Or, you know what? You mentioned it yesterday. Or contract the National League by 2 teams.
In season contraction. In season contraction.
And we saw that with the MLS. They actually did that when they first started. And
they did. And if that's
don't know what Rob Manfred is doing.
And if that's the blight, if that's the black mark on Cardinal history going forward, so be it. You go on with it. We've had to go on in the broad, in the macro, with a lot worse this calendar year, and we may encounter worse in sports. But if it is for the history books to say the St. Louis Cardinals in 2020, whatever the record is now, 2-3, 2-2, whatever it is, and asterisk beside it, or a denotation beside it in parentheses, COVID-19 virus year, they were in season contracted for too many players infected. You have to plow on. Hockey has plowed on, and Dave, I must admit, even the foremost expert that I claim on the radio and try to play and act like and totally fool everybody while I'm not fooling anybody that I'm a hockey fan and expert, I must tell you that this bracket was really hard for me to pick. A, I didn't know some of these games were qualifying games. B, I thought the series was 2 out of 3. I'm now learning they're 3 out of 5, and I don't really know where we stand on our hockey picks.
Well, I'll go over them tomorrow for you. How about that?
Thank you, Dave. I knew you'd come through far beyond the hockey because
I'll
you
try
played
to
youth hockey.
You mentioned positivity. We were talking about that a little bit ago. I am finding it hard, although I've in reading our 2 newspapers in town. There's a lot of positivity on the Grizzlies. I am having trouble finding any positivity.
Me too.
In any way about this basketball team. They played their worst game in the bubble yesterday since they had this restart. First half was the worst defense I've seen them play. New Orleans played a lot harder than them all 48 minutes. If you were looking for the best rookie on the floor yesterday, it was not Ja Morant. It was Zion, even though with limited minutes. Zion was a much better player, especially down the stretch yesterday, than Ja Morant was. Maybe the Pelicans are better than the Grizzlies. Everybody seems to think it's okay, we're going to take our lumps here, but down the road, this team, well, maybe, but, I would have thought they would have played better here right now. I'm not saying Ja and Triple J aren't going to be really, really, really good players. We think there's going to be a great rivalry with New Orleans, but Memphis has not lived up to the billing. And in this case, yesterday, in fact, you asked me about Taylor Jenkins and coaching. Tell me why the Grizzlies did not go through Jonas Valanciunas when they made their comeback. They changed the offense. It went through him. They came back and took the lead. They abandoned that. In the first half,
abandoned it and started heaving threes.
In the first half, the only answer they had was Grayson Allen. He had 17 points in the first half. They didn't give him the ball in the second half. Explain that to me. Explain to me why they weren't ready with energy to come out. When Taylor Jenkins talked about it, they had to have energy for 48 minutes. Yesterday, you could question the coach. You could question Ja Morant, who didn't stop shooting, was 1 of 10. He's 2 of 19 from three-point range since they went to the bubble. They're basically daring him to shoot. They won't let him get to the hole. They've been out-coached. They've been outplayed. They've looked awful, and they're 0-3, and their run into the playoffs, even to get a 9 seed now, is somewhat in jeopardy when you look at that schedule they've got coming up.
It is, David. It has been poor in Orlando. It was heartbreakingly on the sports pain meter. Those first 2 losses, especially the first one to Portland in overtime, were off the charts on the sports pain meter. But yesterday was just a thrashing. Now Zion played 23 minutes, so much for his 15-minute limit. But you're right, they're daring Ja to shoot, and he threw up some Tom Candiotti knuckleballs. I mean, may have damaged the rim on some of those, and it's been bad. And I thought the NBA had kind of put the screws to the Grizzlies on the Orlando games. You didn't when the plan first came out, and you were right. I was wrong on that. If anything, the Grizzlies caught a break scheduling in Orlando. Yep. Instead of going to Portland 2 times like they would have down a balance of a normal season, they only had to play Portland once, and they get to play it in antiseptic neutral gym. Instead of playing San Antonio in San Antonio, and we know what that's like late in the year at AT&T Center in San Antonio, they play them in the bubble in neutral. Instead of playing New Orleans twice, only have to play them once, and would have had to gone there once. Utah would have had to have gone to Salt Lake City. Oklahoma City would have been 2 games, and both would have been Memphis. So that's a little bit of a tough break, but I don't know if you can count on sweeping Oklahoma City in both games, even at the friendly confines of FedEx Forum. Would have to gone to Toronto, instead get Toronto in the bubble. Would have had to gone to Boston, instead. No, would have had Boston at home. I'm sorry. Would have had Boston at FedEx Forum, instead get them at a neutral place. Kind of a loss for the Grizzlies. And it would have been a little later in the year down the stretch. In Milwaukee, instead of going to Milwaukee and playing them in Milwaukee at Fiserv, they have to now play Milwaukee in neutral. So that was advantage for the Grizzlies. They've blown.
A huge advantage because it's also the last game of the bubble, and by then Milwaukee will know their seeding. Probably won't play Giannis. Probably won't play a lot of the starting guys.
They may call up some of the Cardinals' 60-man roster to play that last game. Who knows?
Could happen. They got a
70-man roster. That's right. This hour.
No, yeah. Let me give you a sobering stat. That's a fact. There are only 2 teams in the bubble who have played so far that have not won a game. Both the Grizzlies and the Washington Wizards are 0-3. The only 2 teams in the bubble without a win.
And can we say that the Wizards are lacking for any motivation for their bubble games?
They didn't even want to be there.
They didn't even want to be there. The Grizzlies did.
The Grizzlies are the biggest losers because all momentum they might have had, and they were supposed to be healthy, and they lost 2 key players. They have, but other teams have lost players that have either opted out or went drinking to strip clubs. And
Dave, how can you miss momentum. Something you never had?
I think they've lost a little of their mojo, their prestige. A lot of people thought this was a team we're going to watch in the bubble because they got a chance to make some moves here, and they've lost that because they gave 2 games away. And last night they were a bad team. Last night they did not play hard for the first 3 quarters, and they can't shoot, and they were outcoached. And frankly, the better rookie was Zion, not Ja.
Now, the Tyus Jones injury, it is big, but I don't need to hear too much about the lack of Justice Winslow because they built that record up all year without Justice Winslow. You can say maybe missing Jay Crowder is big because that's what you gave up to get Justice Winslow, but Justice Winslow was just going to be cherry on top for the bubble. This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Give them a call at 901-362-8833. Great offers on all 2020 models and always on special lease options. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. The Golden Opportunity August sales event, it's on at Lexus of Memphis, your only Memphis Lexus dealership. Online at lexusofmemphis.com, 901-362-8833. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, in Shelby County in coronavirus news, Bruce Randolph from the Shelby County Health Department was somewhat positive today. In a good way, when I say positive, by the way. He said the positivity rates are going down slightly. The cases are going down slightly. And that, to him, was good news. 207 new cases, 2 deaths. We're at 22,120 in terms of total cases. 286 fatalities, Yesterday, 1,368 tests at 15.1% hospital beds, 10% available, both ICU and acute, which is slightly up from yesterday, but not enough to cause any real concern. By the way, Methodist Hospital, on a proactive move, hired 150 extra nurses for a possible surge if there was one. And don't forget, we still have not used all those extra beds that we have in the old commercial field building on Union. As far as high school sports, Dr. Randolph basically said that's up to the schools, not the health department, but the health department, if asked, will give the schools some guidance. The American Athletic Conference presidents will have a meeting tomorrow about their future, and hopefully by Thursday or Friday, we'll get a better sense of what the AAC and the U of M Tigers are going to do. In Tennessee, we're up to 110,000 plus cases, 1,000, almost 1,100 fatalities. Mississippi continues to be a hotspot, 1,074 new cases. They've had 1,753 deaths, about 62,200 cases. And in Arkansas, holding steady, 44,597 and 475 fatalities. In the U.S., we're getting close to the 5 million mark. We're at 4.9 million, up 20,000 from yesterday, 160,000 fatalities, 2.5 million recoveries. That's the good news. And now we are past 20%. We have had 61 million Americans tested around the world, 18.5 million cases, 700,000 fatalities, 11.5 million recoveries, 6 million active cases. Add another 5 new vaccines, 162 vaccines in total.
I'll take them all. I'll take every shot. 162 shots. What would that be per arm? 81 per arm or 81 per hip?
That would,
if I had
that
to
would
drop
be an
them
oucher,
and take them in the backside.
You would never have to worry about any kind of disease that you'd have immunity to everything forever.
I might be glowing in the dark, but I'd be free of COVID. My top story, for Orlando, but no worse for wear for now. The Grizzlies precariously hanging on to that 8th seed, and this is really mirroring what March and April would have probably looked like down the stretch. The Grizzlies, a young team, a little bit overachieving, a lot overachieving, having to hang on desperately for that 8th spot, whether we'd been playing games at FedEx Forum or going out on those tough games on the road that we just gave you an example of. Yesterday was just a poor overall performance. It's the only thing you can say about it. And that's not surprising either. Young teams usually act young, and this one picked the wrong time of the year to act young.
Not top story of the day.
This story is, to me, it's symbolic of the times. It truly is. TCU coach Gary Patterson, who's 172-70, the winningest coach in the history of TCU. A guy, unless fate conspires against him, will have a statue in front of the football stadium in Fort Worth when it is all said and done. Apologized today to his team after they threatened to boycott, after he gave a lecture about his players not using the N-word, but he said the N-word in telling them not to use the N-word. Most of his team, I do believe, was behind it, thinking the complaining player who was being chastised was wrong in all of this, but enough players were offended because you should never use the N-word in any context. So Gary Patterson basically apologized today, saying this was a learning lesson for everybody.
And Drew puts up on stack. Gary Patterson already has that statue erected at TCU. He's their Bear Bryant. He or Nick Saban or Frank Broyles or Johnny Vaught or Billy Murphy or he's their legendary guy. He is. And Dave, if you'll remember, and Coach Josh Pastner was criticized for being a little Pollyannish. Maybe sometimes Josh could be a lot Pollyannish, but he had a rule, and I liked it. His rule was strict. White, black, male, female, nobody in his basketball program fun-loving, kidding, and certainly not derogatory or critical or sharp at someone, the word could never be used. Do you remember that?
I do, and I think it's the right way. First of all, people like you and me, we should never use that word. That is just so offensive for whatever reason, culturally. There are some that are black that think it is okay to use amongst themselves. If that is their opinion and it's acceptable by all of them, more power to them. But in my world, I don't ever want to hear it because I know it's so offensive and what it means is so derogatory that I
Josh
don't
never wanted to hear it.
Yeah,
I don't need not top story. The Cardinals last played a week ago tomorrow, last Wednesday. They've been in Milwaukee almost a week. Do something. Bus them home. Individual car ride them home. Put one player in a car and bring them back to St. Louis. Do something. Put negatives in one car, positives in another. Do something. It looks awful.
Hey,
I'm going to stay with, if the Cardinals cause the season to be canceled for all of baseball, this is the darkest hour of St. Louis Cardinal baseball. Tell me one worse. I know immediately somebody would say the passing of Darryl Kyle, and it was sad, it was tragic, it was shocking, it was way too soon. But it didn't shut down the entire sport. It hurt his family, that I'm sure they still hurt. But it did not jeopardize the entire sport, the entire industry.
I don't think we can hold the Cardinals accountable for the ending of baseball season. The Marlins were the first ones.
We're close.
If we're going to hold anybody, they the first ones are the ones you remember the most. I would blame this on baseball's protocol not being used the correct way that it was set up at this point. I don't think it's going to be that way. It's only 7 Cardinals. I say only 7 Cardinals on a 60-man roster. That means there's 53 guys available. Come on, Rob Manfred. Use your protocol. Play the game.
Do something.
Play the game.
Do something. When we come back, we talk with Daryl Smith for the last time this year. Daryl has been with us on Tuesdays in this spot leading up to the WGC FESJI. Got a champion crown, got another year in the history books, and a proud year, even with the difficulties that this year has presented. Daryl Smith with us from the golf tournament. He's next.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochen and Brett Norsworthy.
Daryl Smith from the golf tournament set to join us as we say goodbye for just a while with Daryl after the visit today. It's always fun when we start the run-up to the tournament, and Daryl always great to us with his time and with his energies for the tournament, and it indeed was quite a challenging year for everybody involved with the golf tournament, and we got it in the books between the weather forecast a week ago and the year that we've had and fanless and all the different curveballs and fastballs thrown at you, Daryl. Got it in with a proud champion that joins an illustrious list of Memphis golf winners in Justin Thomas. Good afternoon, Daryl. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was, a fabulous week, and it was one that we're probably happy to see come to an end and have a great champion on Sunday at TPC Southwind and Justin Thomas for his 13th career PGA Tour victory. And like you said, Brett, it's been an interesting year to say the least. And it was an interesting week out at Southwind with no fans on site, and one that we all hope that we never have to do again.
Yeah, Daryl, you had. You had a little bit with this tournament, Dave. You'll love this part, Daryl, and you'll love it with your affinity for the Tennessee Vols. One year at Ole Miss, our syndicator, and it was a good idea on paper. Let's do pre and post game at Knoxville from down on the river at Calhoun's, and pregame that was fine because it wasn't that crowded, and there were some Ole Miss fans around. But we got beat 52-10. So you can imagine what the scene was like post-game with us trying to do Ole Miss post-game in front of all those Tennessee fans and walking to the car. I said, I don't ever want to have to go through that again. Have you had that moment after the tournament's ended that you don't ever want to have a year like this year again?
Yeah, I think that was probably my exact words on Sunday while we're sitting on the 9th green taking pictures of Justin Thomas. And, historically we go to the 18th green because we have the trophy presentation right there on the 18th green that, Dave helps us out with, and just knowing that there was no one there on site to view the trophy presentation. We shortened the walk and went from scoring to 9 green for the photo backdrop. But it's a lot of starts and stops throughout the year, a lot of challenges. I mean, we've had just a range of emotions. We thought we were going to be able to have some sense of a gallery on site, 3 weeks before the tournament, and then decided that the most prudent thing to do was to operate it, without spectators on site. And, it's the number one priority was health and safety from the very beginning. And that was the right decision, to make sure that we created that environment. And we did create that environment there at Southwind. But I sure do miss the fans and the corporate partners and just the number of volunteers. It's without the fans and all those people, it's just a different event. It's an event that, in all honesty, wouldn't be able to survive in that way moving forward.
Well, that ceremony that we have on 18 is one of the favorite things I do every year. I certainly was sad that I couldn't be there to see it, but it just dawned on me at least the last 3 champions, when you go back to Dustin Johnson, when he sinks the dramatic eagle, I think that made him number 1 in the world, maybe kept him at number 1, but it was so significant. Then you had Koepka, who not only did he win the first WGC, but he also got a huge monetary bonus. I can't remember how many millions it was with bonuses that he got, and I'm not sure if that got him the number 1, but I know that Justin Thomas's win got him back to number 1 over John Rahm. So we've had some significance to your last 3 champions that are really historic.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 champions have either returned to number 1 in the official world golf rankings or became number 1 in the official world golf rankings. And, that just speaks to the quality of golf that we've seen here in Memphis over the years. And, Dustin, the way that he became number 1 in the world again, by holding out on the 18th green at the last FedEx St. Jude Classic. And then, of course, the last 2 years with Brooks taking down Rory in the first playing of a WGC, and then Justin Thomas this year. So, with the WGC, you're going to have a highly ranked field, and, had 8 of the top 8, 45 of the top 50 in the official world golf rankings. And, the players, seem to, usually are quick to determine, who the best players are at a venue like TPC Southwind or who's playing the best that week. And, we really didn't know. There's been a lot of drama over the last couple of years too, with exception of DJ and just kind of running away with it at one time on Sunday. I mean, there was a chance maybe for a 7-way playoff, just because so many people were bunched up there at Southwind. But Justin Thomas got a little lucky throughout the round, and that's what you got to have to win a World Golf Championship, and he came out on top.
And Daryl, your last 3 winners being Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, and Dustin Johnson, they're all headed straight to the Golf Hall of Fame. I mean, I'd have to go back in the history book and find 3 straight years from 3 different winners that are Hall of Fame bound out of Memphis, and we've got quite a list of winners. That is something. I mean, we're going to watch those 3 guys for at least 10 more years with DJ, and with Brooks and Justin Thomas, 10 or 15, 20 more years. They're going to win a lot more golf tournaments, and they'll always have Memphis in that resume.
Yeah, they're all 3 highly acclaimed, and I agree they're all straight right towards the Hall of Fame, and all 3 of those guys are we're right into a major championship week and PGA Championship, and I tell you that Justin Thomas and Brooks Koepka are probably the 2 players that are going to be picked the most for people that think they can win this week, and I think that those 2 picks are pretty solid picks. You never know what's going to happen in a major, but of course Brooks Koepka is trying to make history and three-peat with the PGA Championship, and had gone into this year had been struggling and being a little bit probably down on his game, and I think he found some good mojo here in Memphis, like he always does. Of course, got off to a fast start on Thursday with that 62. But those 3 guys, those past 3 champions, they're always going to be names that you hear when the biggest events in the world, that they're going to be towards the top, or they're going to be those type of players that have a great chance to win major championships. And it's just exciting for Memphis's golf tournament to have them as our champions.
We all heard Justin Thomas. He was interviewed by CBS. We saw all the photographs, and there were a lot of interviews of him, and he was fortunate both on 15, especially on 15, but also on 16. And he himself said you have to have luck sometimes to win a golf tournament. Brooks made that incredible putt on 17. I'm waiting on 18 thinking he's going to tie this thing up, and he hits the ball in the water, which is wild. I've not seen very much said from him. I know he is a pretty terrific guy from dealings the past year or 2 with him. What did you hear from him after it was over, Daryl?
Yeah, well, I didn't hear much from Brooks after it was over. I mean, I could tell that Brooks was, of course, extremely disappointed. I think Brooks probably thought that he had a really good shot on 16. Just the ball didn't, check, and it rolled off the back of the green, and he makes bogey on 16 when he's probably thinking he's going to make birdie there and, either tie for the lead or really tie for the lead and, have a chance to win the tournament. I was in the interview area after the round. I mean, I could tell that Brooks was, of course, as any person would be, coming off the golf course and finishing in that fashion, probably running a little hot. But I also feel like Brooks probably came away from this week feeling that his game is finally just showing the signs of life that he was seeking. And when major championships come up on the calendar, Brooks Koepka hits another gear. And honestly,
Sure
to me, he feels like this week that he just played in is going to be very telling and be very important to what happens this week in San Francisco.
And Daryl, you saw it with. I've probably been a little biased here, but you saw for all the fanless events, darn if our crowds and in backyards and legitimate areas that they could be in where their homes are at TPC Southwind, I think we had about the loudest crowd of the year on the PGA Tour and our golf history. The great story last week by the commercial appeal of the nice man that lives right off of 1T, and he is a regular listener of our show, and I just thought it captured it well. What a history, what a great history, and going forward that we have in our big place, our big piece of the PGA Tour schedule.
Yeah, I mean, we've been so fortunate to have this tournament in Memphis for, 63 years now. And, so many people that that have played a role in it. I mean, the tournament is really the fabric of our community. Mr. Wells there on the first tee at TPC Southland. I actually got to visit his upstairs museum that has all the different golf artifacts. I guess probably about 2 weeks before the tournament, and he's always been such a huge fan of our event and so supportive. And that whole entire community that we call home in Southwind has always been something they look forward to. They want to shine the light on Memphis and St. Jude, and we were happy to see them outside and enjoying the tournament in a safe manner. I actually probably thought it would be a little bit more, probably more people in the backyards all throughout the week, but it's a tough time right now for everybody, and they're trying to want to be supportive of the tournament, but at the same time, they also are cognizant of what we're all going through. So it was fun to see a little noise on the golf course, and I just hope that sooner than later we can get a lot more noise on these golf courses as we kind of get through the Tour Championship and get through the fall season, because that's what makes all these events special. It's the people that are on site.
I mentioned on the air yesterday how good-looking Southwind was on CBS cameras. I've never seen it look in better shape. I've never seen more beauty shots. You do a lot of self-evaluation of the tournament the following week, and I know it's only Tuesday, but the feedback that you've gotten either from CBS or players or the volunteers that were able to come, how do you evaluate this? It seems like no COVID cases, no bad behavior by anybody. It seems like this thing really went well.
Yeah, I mean, it did. It was, the health and safety, again, was the number one objective. And we were able to create that environment. We did not have any positive tests throughout the week. Unfortunately, there were some positive tests at the other event that was being played opposite us in, Truckee, California at the Barracuda Championship. The golf course, the golf course I feel like was really the star of the week. And at the, that's what it needed to be, of course, because that is the focus point, is actually the competition. But the players continue to rave about the golf course, the condition of the golf course, how fair of a test of golf it is. And I think the golf course really set itself apart this week. I've always known that the golf course was a really good test of golf, but now that once we get people coming to Southwind, and with the WGC, we saw kind of a new cast of characters that have come to this tournament that are starting to question, why have I not been coming to Memphis for all along? I mean, the golf course there's not too many negative comments about it. The greens are some of the best greens that they putt all year round. I mean, they're compared to Augusta National at times, which is, unbelievable to be in that same company. So I think the golf course really won out, and I think that all the players say every single time they come here that if you play good golf, you can win this tournament, but you can't fake it around here. And that's what Bones said after Justin Thomas's victory. He said, that's the thing that sets this place apart, is that if you're playing good, you have a chance to win, but if you're not, you know what you need to work on.
You do. And, Daryl, we appreciate you again being so very good to us, and we'll do whatever we can for something that's very special to both of us. And we hope we get to see you more next year. We know the circumstances this year, we understand, but thank you for your kindness and your friendship and your professionalism. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate you very much.
Well, we appreciate you guys and hope to see you guys next year, and hopefully we'll see each other here soon.
We aim to be there. Thank you. Thank you. Daryl Smith with us from the WGC FESJI. We are always in our Family Leisure studios where family and fun come together. Save now on your 2021 swimming pool. Buy now at 2020 pricing and save your spot for first installation next spring of 2021. Patio furniture, 20 to 30% off. Play gyms in stock. Beat the heat with indoor game table or slate pool table. Pool toys and floats up to 30% off. Whatever you want, indoors or outdoors, they've got it at Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
And this portion of the show is also brought to you by Brian Elder Roofing Solutions. So roofing is what they call an essential emergency service. Sadly, we don't recognize that. sometimes until we look up and we see spots on our ceiling. We know damage has started to affect the inside of our home, and you got a problem. Please don't wait till you have that kind of bad news or problem. Call now, especially if you haven't thought about your roof in years and it's old and you've got some concerns. This is where Brian Elder Roofing Solutions comes in handy. Simple number. You've heard it before a million times. 867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. They only use the best products on the market. They also provide their customers with what I think is one of the best warranties for roofing contractors, period. At Brian Elder, they stand on their no questions asked warranty, and that's what sets them apart. They'll come out, they'll inspect your roof to see maybe there was roof damage. Maybe your insurance company will be helpful in some regard. And they only use the latest technology and equipment. Heck, they're so good, as you heard them say, they can measure your roof from outer space. So if you think you got a problem, you want to make sure you don't have a problem, call the guys with the solution. That's Brian Elder, Roofing Solution, 867-0303. Back with the wrap of hour number one in just a minute. We are officially, totally underway on this Tuesday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for a table at a restaurant.
Thompson, party of four. Thompson, party of four. Thompson, oh, there you are.
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Brent Beard will join us and talk college football to start the 4 o'clock hour. Right at 4 o'clock, Brent Beard will be with us. At 4:30, Ron Tillery on the Grizzlies and on the action in the bubble. And Ron Tillery was big on experience heading into the bubble, and he's proven to be right on so far. At 5 o'clock, Bo Marchant with us. We'll also have our rankings of AFC South quarterbacks. And there's at least 2, if not 3, Hall of Famers in that AFC South ranking of quarterbacks. We'll have that at 5. We'll wrap up the day with Taco Bell Crunch Time around 5:45, 5:50 or so. Dave Woloshin, let's see how good you are. So what does 2020 winner Justin Thomas, 2019 winner Brooks Koepka, 2018 winner Dustin Johnson, and 2017 winner Daniel Berger, when he went back-to-back, what do they all have in common on this radio show?
On this radio show?
You picked all 4 of them to win the tournament.
Did I predict every winner? I predicted every winner.
You did.
My brilliance is just beyond measure, I guess, at this particular point.
It is all.
One of these days, you guys will win one of these things. I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
Drew, help me. Drew, do something. Turn my mic. Do something. I don't know what you got to do. Do something.
I do want to say, have you seen these groupings for the PGA? I mean,
I haven't.
We're going to have fun watching this.
We are, and I had a blast, and I texted you last night. I was into everything last night, but I love during major week and at the Ryder Cup, President's Cup, I love live from, and last night live from the PGA, and some of those stories on the history of Bay Area golf, and I like a lot of people love the Bay Area. I know you do. You have a sister that lives in the Bay Area as we speak, don't you?
I do. Well, she lives in Oakland, so she's in the Bay Area. I thought
I love East Bay. I love Oakland.
I love Oakland. She's actually in a really beautiful area. There's hiking there, and it's really very pretty. She's sort of in the Oakland foothills, and some of the views up there are spectacular of the bay. And I thought the overhead views. I didn't realize that Harding Park is on a lake. I mean, it is truly a beautiful place. The temperatures are going to be in the mid-60s, quite a bit different from here. But these groups, man, if you were out there to watch, would you follow Tiger Woods, Justin Thomas, and Rory McIlroy, or would you follow?
Yes, you can stop right there. Yes.
Yeah, but Rahm.
If he's on the course, I'll follow him.
Phil Mickelson, John Rahm, and Sergio Garcia. That's a heck of a group. Ricky Fowler, Bryson DeChambeau, Adam Scott. That's a heck of a group. Spieth and DJ are part of a group. I can't remember who the third one on that one is. These group, I mean, there's 4 or 5.
Justin Rose.
Justin Rose. You're just going to love watching that.
Yeah, it's going to be good. First major of the year. It's usually, last year, the last major of the year was the Open Championship, and it ended up being the last major we've had since we didn't have Masters and PGA in May and U.S. Open in June and Open Championship in July. The PGA trying to get out of the month of August, and they're back in it. We're going to have a lot of majors compressed in a short time period, and there's a super article at PGAtour.com about the best players currently in the world to never win a major and kind of who's in the queue for it. I think people need to really – I don't know that he'll be one of my picks, and I've got the first pick, and I can tell you now I'm taking Justin Thomas. You can just start arranging for it otherwise. I think he's going to go back-to-back weeks and win his second major and his second PGA.
Big mistake. Look what happened to John Rahm when he won a big tournament, Memorial, and then – he's number one in the
Now he's
world.
giving advice, Drew.
That turnaround. I'm just telling you. I'm trying to do you a favor. You don't want JT there.
You were in last place until Sunday, okay?
He's
need your
first
advice.
or second pick all year. He's at first or second pick all year.
Did you hear the consistency of years past? Who won
for 1
last
week?
Year?
It's not Lee Trevino, it's not Dave Hill, it's not Nick Price, it's not Phil Mickelson, it's not John Daly. Mr. Memphis Golf Tournament's Dave Woloshin.
Even before I got here, I was telling everybody, watch Geiberger. Watch Al Geiberger.
Okay, come on. No, don't tell me you were saying look out for Bert Yancey way back in the past.
No. I told him, though, Trevino would dominate here, Dave Hill would, Nick Price would. I've always been over all this tournament.
You had Andy Bean in 78, didn't you?
Andy Bean, man, that was a big dude in the day. Have you ever been close to Andy Bean? I couldn't believe how big he was.
Yeah, Andy Bean played college golf at Florida. He was a big man, and for the day, he could really move it out there. What, about 255? Yeah, 265. And I mean, watching him on the driving range at Colonial, but the number one person forever to watch on the driving range at Colonial, I mean, the show of shows, especially with the old clubs and the old ball, Jim Thorpe. Man, he could rip it.
Wow. I never saw Jim Thorpe warm up. I did not. I would have loved to.
It was something to see. Dave, you want to take us to break? You got any business, or you want me to just wrap it up?
I think we are good. I'm looking forward to hearing what Brent's got to say today.
We got Brent Beard. We will talk college football with him. There's still a lot more questions than any answers out in the college football world, but we will try to get all the questions asked and most of the answers from our friend Brent Beard. He will be up next. You are listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats and Drew Barrett producing.
Even in times like these, special occasions happen. And when an occasion calls for special, it calls for 117 Prime, Memphis's premier downtown dining destination. From the spectacular 36-ounce porterhouse paired with a Ferrari Carano Cabernet, to the jumbo lump crab cakes, to the raw bar with oysters fresh off the boat from the Gulf and the East Coast, there is simply no finer dining experience in Memphis than 117 Prime in the heart of downtown. These are complicated times, but if you want simply the best, you want 117 Prime.
Farmers Insurance knows that when you're in the car and that song comes on, yes, that's the one, you have no choice but to pull out your imaginary drumsticks and smash those cymbals and stomp on that kick pedal, which unfortunately is the accelerator pedal. And we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent who knows a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
It's July, and you know what that means, Memphis. It's time for our anniversary tent sale going on now at Sunrise. And just in time, too, because GM just announced employee pricing for everyone on almost all new Buicks and GMCs. Rebates as big as $7,000. Discounts up to $10,000. Over 500 used cars and trucks in stock with a great selection of late model GM certified vehicles. And we specialize in cars under $10,000. Bad credit, slow pay, bankruptcy, it's okay at Sunrise. No clowns, no gimmicks here, just big savings. Look for the huge tent on Highway 64 in Bartlett, across from the Wolf Chase Mall. Call, click, or come in. We make it fun to buy a car.
Start your day at Sunrise Memphis. Located in Midtown, enjoy delicious biscuit sandwiches and all their menu has to offer with quick and easy to-go and delivery options. Whether it's breakfast, brunch, or lunch, don't distance yourself from great food. For more information on Sunrise Memphis, visit sunrise901.com or call 901-552-3144 to place your order. Stay healthy and eat Sunrise Memphis today.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
Lots of college football talk, lots of NBA and Grizzlies talk, and a lot of NFL talk, and some baseball talk, and some PGA talk ahead over these next 2 hours right here. Stay with us until 6 o'clock. We start this hour with our friend Brent Beard down in Jacksonville. First, Brent, we want to say to you we are so glad that y'all are safe and sound in Duval County and along the northeast corridor of the great state of Florida. I know y'all have had hurricane fatigue, and you have to batten down the hatches all too often. But you were spared, and we are glad. We're glad you're okay.
Well, we appreciate that, but you never really know what's going to happen when those things are out in the Gulf and they're heading your way. But we were very fortunate this time. I mean, listen, it was almost miraculous. That thing just started at the basically at the tip of the bottom of the state and just ran along the coast the whole way. We have had thunderstorms worse than what we got on Monday, but believe me, yes, we are quite relieved it is gone.
At one point, the track of the hurricane was almost running opposite of the Miami Marlins en route on a bus on the way back home from Philadelphia. Yeah. I mean, the Marlins were kind of battling the center of the cone of uncertainty.
It's really amazing when you have a hurricane or tropical storm and it does more damage up in the Northeast than it does in the state of Florida.
That hurricane, that track is amazing. How it has strengthened and went straight up that coast and is going up into Canada. The correct pronunciation is Isaias. How do you pronounce it, Brent?
I think it's Isaias, but I think right now either one is probably acceptable. So, and you're right. I mean, listen. Anytime you get you get one of those that go around Philadelphia, Boston, New York, and Canada, it's rare for that to happen.
Yeah, right now, Albany, New York.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Weather Channel and similar ones have been quite busy during this time. It's gained steam. I mean, it's really amazing how, frankly, how long those things can stay together and how much damage they can do.
So the big story today could be the Board of Governors' decision, and I would imagine, since it's 5 o'clock in the East Coast, that they did not come to some decision about championships for fall sports, which could affect the FCS football teams, FBS teams that aren't part of the Power Five. What have you heard about the Board of Governors meeting? Anything?
Well, I have been monitoring this all day long, and nothing has come down the pike yet. So now they may have an extended meeting that goes another hour or so, but at this point, there really is nothing, Dave, on Twitter to tell you that. And again, the Board of Governors were discussing fall championships. Kind of what you're hearing from the people who cover them would be maybe that they're going to kick the can down the road on Division I and maybe deal more with Division II and III, and maybe even cancel some of those. Hopefully they won't, but that very well could happen. But so, but as of now, and I've been expecting to hear something. Basically, the whole time we thought we'd hear more on the Big Ten schedule today. But now it sounds like that's going to be released on Wednesday. At this point, we did obviously hear from the SEC about what their plan was over the next few weeks. But the Board of Governors meeting may be I won't say middle of the night, but it may be past dinner time.
Brent, Dave and I have we have a little bit disagreed. It hadn't been one of our classic throwdowns, but we've a little bit disagreed, and I was very animated on what I thought early, especially around the 4th of July, middle of July, and maybe even into later July, that I thought the SEC, led by Greg Sankey, was not leading. Well, in effect, they kind of have, because everyone else, if they're not following, they are adopting the later September schedule now as opposed to the earlier. While some games still exist on a schedule, I doubt very seriously football will be played in 25 days or even in 32 days or even in 39 days.
Well, I think everybody was waiting to see what the SEC was going to do in the beginning. Obviously, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 ended up before anybody else in making their decisions, and then the day before, the SEC decided the ACC made their decision as far as what they would do. Guys, I still say my disappointment in the SEC was to not include the rivalries with the ACC. I was hoping that instead of a 10-0, can we say, that they would have had a 9+1, and we would still have been able to have done so. I think the other aspect of it, I thought they might be playing later, but it's obvious they want to see what the NFL is doing their first 2 weeks, and then see if they need to tweak anything after that. They've got one bye week in the middle of the season. I wish they would have had 2. I mean, I know they've got one at the end of the year. Don't know how many teams that will help, frankly, at this point. And guys, there's something though no one's really talked about is with this SEC championship game delayed until the 19th, we've still got the early signing period around that same date. So I really do wonder, and I know we brought this up a couple of times, if they will keep that early signing period. Well, it would be just for the SEC, but some of these other conferences are having later conference games too. I still just wonder if there may be an inclination to still just have one signing period in February and keep from having a conflict for the teams involved in their championship games.
Well, that early signing period has always been a detriment to the teams that play in the championship game, because you're losing a week or 2 of recruiting. And I know this because Memphis has played in their conference championship the last 2 years, and you can't really devote your time to recruiting when you're playing in meaningful games that you have to prepare your team for. So you get put behind the 8 ball in all of this. If you're like, it's a negative instead of a reward for being good. And so that has to absolutely change without any doubt in my mind. I want to point out, because the Big 12, to me, with the way they handled that so-called expansion, which they never had, was all a bunch of malarkey. And I've not thought much of the commissioner and the administration of the Big 12, but I give them credit this time around. When they saw the opening for the ACC, where they were the only conference that could still do an open model to play a conference game and get great games, they opened up and took the model of 9-1 so they could be the partner with the ACC if indeed that comes to pass. But here's the problem that I don't know how they'll solve. The way the ACC wrote it was it has to be a home game for them. You can't tell me the Big 12 is going to go, okay, we're going to go to all the ACC schools. That's going to have to be amended, isn't it?
You would think so. Yeah, I mean, what? If you're in alerts and you need a game, I get it. But the reality is that's not the case. At least it's not right now. So I certainly would concur with that. And one more thing, if I may, on this recruiting thing, real quick, is they've got a dead period, guys, until August 31st. And there's talk this week about it being extended. Let's just say, for instance, it's extended to what, October 1 or Halloween? I mean, at that point, what that would mean is coaches will not be able to visit, prospects will not be able to come to campus. So at that juncture, tell me how in the world you could have an early signing period.
I don't.
It'd be very difficult.
Games, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And this year. And Brent, I've been, I don't think I've been whining about it, but I've tried to be alerting people about. I've thought for a while now, a long time now, and it seems like there's more and more every year of too many people on a sideline. The sideline gets very crowded, and what that does, it doesn't give you a lot of room to run and hide when the play's getting on top of you. And I have been scared that someone, a member of the chain crew, or an ancillary figure on the sideline, maybe even old Brett down there occasionally might get trampled and hurt seriously. This year, there's not going to be anybody on the sideline. If we play, if you don't have a helmet on and a mouthpiece in, you're not going to be on the sideline.
Well, and you know, I like to have seen a compromise of that, because some people need to be there, but and there's nothing wrong with them being there. But that's a good point. You're right. I mean, we've all been on sidelines when they've had everybody there except the starting quarterback's mom and grandmama. So at some point they've got to get a handle on that. But yes, I think that is that's going to be a very unusual sight to be able to see. And frankly, Brad, that's a good point. Where are radio and television, or are they even going to be at the game? You wonder. Where are those sideline reporters even going to be?
No, I do not believe. I do not believe at this point that there will be sideline reporters for TV or for radio. I do think that the broadcast crews will be on site. I know there was talk in the AAC that visiting radio may be in studio. Home would be allowed in the ballpark, and they would make use of both those booths to get proper distancing. But I think they're going back on that, and they're going to let radio travel, but it will be a limited crew. They may not travel with the teams either. So there's still a lot to sort out. But I think Brett's point about sidelines, and even recruits that come in that usually get to spend a portion of the time on the sideline, they won't be allowed to go to games. There's not going to be anybody in the games, and there's not going to be anybody on the sidelines, including your sideline reporter. So it is going to look a whole lot different this year.
Well, again, it certainly will be. Now, to me, as long as we have two teams on the field, that's really all that matters.
That's all that matters.
But your point's well taken is, and there's so much of this stuff right now that we just don't know. We don't really know who's going to be allowed to come to games yet, and allowed who's going to be where. Look, I'm quite concerned about, for those of us with the credentials to go to games. Are we going to be at games? Frankly, who knows how that's going to work? So that there are a lot of things to figure out. Now, listen, we haven't gotten to as we used to say in school, we haven't gotten to the Roman numerals yet, the big numbers, much less the little A, B, and C and D, have we?
No, we haven't. Brent, I've heard a lot of options on those sides for that. Dave, I think you'll be interested in this as well. I've even heard at SEC places, since it will be fanless, and a lot of like on the other side, the skybox area this year being converted into maybe having a radio crew over there and one in the more traditional spot to keep plenty of distancing. I've even heard that, say, like a game at Auburn or a game at Ole Miss, for instance, with the very close proximity to the basketball arena, some media would be in the traditional press box, and then kind of an auxiliary media may be set up in a building or something adjacent to the stadium for other people to, air quotes here, cover the game.
Yeah. I'm not so sure that wouldn't be the goal of some schools, pandemic or not. But
have us 100 miles away.
It makes you wonder. And there's been a little bit written this week about are bands going to be involved at all? I know the visiting band's not going to be able to go, and you really wonder how limited that the home band is going to be at this point too. So
I can tell you right now, in the American Athletic Conference, it's already been written: no bands, no cheerleaders. Even if they allow a percentage of crowd in, whatever that may be, 10%, 15%, 25%, 50%, like Texas is saying, there would not be in the American Athletic Conference bands, cheerleaders, pom-pom girls. Those are all off the table.
I think that's probably what we'll see overall when these conferences actually get to dealing with that with the minutiae, as they may say, of situations like that. Man, listen. I just hope we get to that point. Frankly, where we're having to deal with things of that. But I mean, listen. We've got things where we were never dealt with. We've got conference championship games that are almost going to be played close to Christmas. We mentioned the recruiting thing right now. Games aren't starting until the end of September, and on and on and on. What a different year it has been, and what a different year it will be.
And
I want to take
for the SC. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to take us back to the Board of Governors meeting, and I saw you put this in your notes, and I've read this story. If the Board of Governors were to say, we're not playing fall championships this year, and they control soccer, they control some track and tennis,
right,
golf, that the Power 5 schools might just say, enough is enough. We're taking over. They could, and this may be why there's an extension here by the Board of Governors, and they haven't come up with a decision yet, because they know this is a possibility. That revolution that we have heard about for a long time, where they just say, we run football, it's time for us to run everything, because the NCAA is not a very effective organization. We could see that the group that runs college football could just say, we're going to let you guys, presidents of the Power 5, we're going to let you guys run all of them. We're moving all our sports to you. And that would be the beginning of the end of the NCAA as we know it. Do you really believe that's a possibility?
Well, I think there's a lot of talk, but when you really drill down and look at that, let's just say they waved goodbye to the NCAA and they all ended up on the desert island somewhere, and they say, hey, let's have a party because we don't have to deal with the NCAA anymore. And then the next day they wake up after the party and they realize, we've got to put a structure here together that would be probably almost NCAA-like, because we got to have a few rules we got to go by. What if somebody's cheating? How do we deal with things like that? That's kind of been my point to that all along. Is I understand the point that's made to that, but and I understand why you'd want to do it, but what I've never really seen, and maybe you guys have, is when that point is discussed, it is a real plan and structure in order to get that done. So it really does, but it's becoming clear now, isn't it, Dave and Brett, that let's say when we're reviewing after this season's over, and we have one, I think we will, but when we're reviewing these things, I think we all would have to admit that the non-Power 5 and Power 5 is that there's a growing chasm between those two because of what they can do and what they can't do. And then, yes, you're seeing continue to see a toothless NCAA that still is not acting on like basketball situations and so forth. So, but again, to your question, Dave, I really wonder how. I get the idea it has some merit to it, but that at some point you just got to start over with something. But I still say there's got to be a lot of structure there that hasn't been thought out.
Yeah, Brent, I'm with you. I'd like to see a strong, solvent, workable, functionable, realistic NCAA instead of a breakaway band of teams, because you're right. That split, that sounds like fun and games until you actually split. And then you look up and you don't really have a workable organization. It's a little bit like some of these states, and it's often on some ballot measures. And either this year, and I'll say for sure by 2024, it's going to be a legitimate on the ballot in the fall, an initiative, a proposition. And we know the famous propositions in California through the years of them breaking away. You better think long and hard before you really do that.
Boy, that's right. Absolutely. Now, again, now I give Mark Emmert credit for this because he when he first took over, Mark, in the first 2 years, said we really need to streamline a lot of this. It's gotten the NCAA manual is way too it's way too big, way too thick, and all that. We've got to do something with this and be able to deal with it. But they've got some incredible issues that are coming down the pike, particularly with the entitlement that we're seeing from these players, guys, that. Help me on this, guys. I don't know in the present form that the NCAA is right now that they're going to be capable of dealing with some of these big issues that are coming unless they morph into maybe something different than where they are now in order to remain viable and deal with these things head on.
Well, I would say this: whichever entity runs college sports, they have to give more to the student athlete, and I understand that. The medical coverage, to me, that these Pac-12 players are demanding, that I get. A fair share of the name, image, and likeness, which is still being crafted. That should be a fair representation. But to basically ask for 50% of the revenues, there is no way that any entity would allow that to happen.
None. The only person that ever got 50% was Colonel Tom as the agent for Elvis. And he struck a deal that he got 50% of everything. And it was one of the right. It was a bad deal for Elvis. Yeah, Brent. Hey, Brent. Thank you for your time today. We'll visit again next week. We'll have maybe a little clarity. Maybe have some schedules next week with times and dates attached. We'll see.
Well,
Thank you,
Brent. That'd be
Brent.
wonderful. It really would, and we'll have board of governors decisions. And listen, guys. Between now and then, who knows what else we're going to be dealing with?
Yeah,
just
you got
stay healthy.
It. Thank you, Brent.
That's all we can
pleasure.
hope for.
That's it. You got it. Brent Beard with us every Tuesday afternoon talking college football. And, Dave, I was watching it live earlier. There has been a Major League Baseball game today delayed by a drone. A drone flew too close to the stadium and lingered overhead.
There's always something, isn't there? A drone.
Woo.
Well, that's a new
2020,
one.
man.
That is absolutely a new one. This hour of the program is presented by my friends at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. And I'm really proud to tell you, and I'm happy. The 2021s are coming in, and wait till you see the 2021 Genesis SUV. It isn't here yet. It's supposed to be in September. This will be the new car that everybody will be clamoring for. I promise you, with every new Genesis or Hyundai, like a Santa Fe or a Veloster, number one compact sporty car last year, or a Tucson, number one 2020 compact for SUVs from J.D. Power. Any one of those cars, you get not only that limited lifetime powertrain warranty, you get a 3-year, 36,000-mile maintenance package. That's how much they believe in taking care of you at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. If you're in the market for a pre-owned car, no better department than Ray Melton. He's been doing it for 50 years. He really understands and has a passion to help people find the right car for them. And if you get a Hyundai certified pre-owned, you can get a powertrain warranty on that for up to 100,000 miles. Go down Lamar into Mississippi. Craft Road's the very first exit, 15 minutes away from anywhere. Turn left, and you'll see the standard of car dealerships, the way business should be done. You will understand what I'm talking about when you go to Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. We take a break, and when we come back, I always look forward to chatting with our friend the original beat writer of the Grizzlies. That would be the one and only Ron Tillery. He is next.
Want to get your voice heard? Hit us up on the First Bank phone line or First Bank text line.
It's the Summer of Performance event at Acura of Memphis. Acura's entire lineup sets the luxury and performance standard, like the award-winning sedan, the Acura TLX, or the 3-row 7-passenger SUV, the Acura MDX, or Acura of Memphis's top-selling luxury crossover, the Acura RDX. Aggressive pricing, customized lease options, and low financing rates are at Acura of Memphis. Don't miss these deals. Visit AcuraofMemphis.com.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddock Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day, group play, and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Games going on in the bubble as we speak. A game going on. The Phoenix Suns lead the Clippers 67-60. I think we're pulling for the Clippers in that one in a final in overtime. I know we were pulling for Dallas. And Dallas, if we're wanting the Grizzlies to get in the playoffs, and I do, the Mavericks win 114-110 over the Kings. Luka Doncic goes off for 34 points, 20 boards, and 12 assists. And the Brooklyn Nets earlier, 119-116 over Giannis and the Bucks. The big story here locally yesterday, the Grizzlies dropped to 0-3 in the bubble with the loss to New Orleans, and now still have the inside edge for that 8th and final playoff spot, but they could have made it a lot easier on themselves. To talk NBA and the Grizzlies, the longtime beat writer when he was with the Commercial Appeal, Ron Tillery, he joins us now. Ron Tillery, noted – oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Crank it up, Drew.
And now, from Chicago, the original Grizzlies beat writer, Ron Tillery.
Mr. Till himself.
You're too good.
Way to go, Drew. Way to go. Now, with that, Drew and Dave being the noted the Grizzlies homers that they are, they both had the Grizzlies 3-0 after these 3 games. I had the Grizzlies 1-2. So far as prophetic as Dave is on the golf picks, he's missed badly in the bubble.
Pathetic.
Well, I've been looking at Twitter. I've been listening to some commentary, and it's just this. It's like people are falling apart, and I don't think the Grizzlies went to the bubble and just fell apart. I just think the Grizzlies went to the bubble and showed who they are, and that's a very young, inexperienced team with a rookie coach. I mean, when you think about it, guys, against the teams that in the bubble, they were 19-32. So yeah. So the expectations were way too high. I think a lot of people got caught up, including most fans, including some of our colleagues in the media, with their overachieving and them being ahead of schedule. But they were due to hit their roughest part of the schedule when the NBA shut down. And so I don't think it was realistic. I'm just being objective about this. I don't think it was realistic for them to hold on to that 8th seed with 17 games to go, having to play Portland twice, New Orleans twice, Utah, Houston, Milwaukee. It was just
Boston, Toronto twice.
Toronto, yeah,
Denver.
It was gonna be tough. And so what we're seeing is a snapshot of what it would have looked like with 17 to go.
What do you think when you saw that schedule come out in the bubble and the 8 games, and you saw these first 3 games, which I thought were really winnable games and would have clinched them the 8th spot had they won, and they should have won the first 2 for sure. They did not play well yesterday. But what did you think they would be? Where do you think that their record would have been in the bubble at this point after 3 games? The 4.
Oh, I thought it would be 0-3. You know
Really?
why? Because although I think it was a favorable schedule for the Grizzlies going into the bubble, because it's not nearly as harsh as it would have been had they continued before the pandemic. These head-to-head games, they really matter. 3.5 games. See, I think people just got fool's gold with that 3.5 game lead. These head-to-head games that knock a game off of it, and they got a break yesterday. I know everybody's caught up in the collective losses, but had San Antonio had held on and won that game, boy, people would have been wanting to jump into the Mississippi. It would be a 1-game lead by now. So 2-game lead with 5 to go. I still think they're in good position to be in the play-in game. But for my money, I'm not trying to be negative, but I think it's going to be San Antonio and Portland.
Wow,
Ron, it is hard. It is hard to look at this schedule: Utah, OKC, Toronto, Boston, and Milwaukee. There's no gimmies. About the biggest thing the Grizzlies can really hope for is a really checked out, getting healthy, Hale and Hardy, Toronto, Boston, and or Milwaukee, 1, 2, or all 3 of them, and they just check out and kind of give the Grizzlies the gentleman W win in the bubble. Otherwise, this could play out to 0 for the bubble and not make the playoffs. And all the wave of great momentum, I won't say lost, but certainly altered.
Yeah, and to be optimistic about it, to your point, that Milwaukee's going to clinch the East, and Toronto's 5 games behind them. So Toronto probably won't have anything to play for at that point when they face the Grizzlies. Boston can't catch Toronto, but Boston is not far ahead of Miami. So those 2 teams will still be playing, and Indiana is not far behind Miami as well. So these teams, and then Philly. So you got Boston, Miami, Indiana, Philly. They'll still be playing in the East. In the West, obviously the Lakers clinch, but the Clippers got to hold off Denver. They're not far behind. And then Utah and Houston are still battling, and OKC is in that fight. So their teams are still going to be fighting for seeding. But having said all of that, this is a neutral site. So what if you move up? It's not a home game.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
you're not going to have Clipper Darrell there.
let me go back to your premise here. If it's Portland and San Antonio that make the playoffs, and the Grizzlies went into the bubble with a 3.5 game lead and an extra playoff spot because of the 9 seed now that they brought into play.
Yeah.
I think all this momentum, this talk about Taylor Jenkins, Coach of the Year, Ja is going to win Rookie of the Year. There's no question about that. All this good feeling, this sense of we are building a team, because nobody thought at the beginning of the year they'd do anything, but then we fell in love with Ja, and here comes Jaren, and Dylan Brooks got his money, and Valanciunas doesn't get his due, but he's been so solid. You make that trade for Winslow, you're just about assured they rig it so you're going to get in the playoffs, even though some people thought they got the bad end of it. I didn't. And if you don't, I think a lot of that goodwill goes right down the drain.
Well, I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't think it's that serious. I mean, you're talking about a team that's led by 2 20-year-olds and Ja and Jaren and a rookie head coach. I mean, neither of these people that we just mentioned have ever been in this position. See, it's easy to win games when you got dynamic young talent in October, November, December, January. But when you get to this pressure situation, then everybody has to rise to the occasion. And we've just seen that youth and inexperience come to play. I mean, I've seen the Spurs over decades get off to a slow start in October and November, only to end up winning 60 games at the end. And I think we got enamored with Taylor Jenkins, and I'm not trying to disparage him. I mean, he's done a fine job, but because of how well Ja and Jaren have played. But in this bubble, I mean, he's been exposed too. I mean, I know we want to blame, Dylan Brooks and Deontay Melton and so on and so on. But when you look at this consistent slow start, I think it speaks to a lack of preparation. And what did we talk about in the last couple of weeks, guys? The team with the chemistry throughout this bubble are going to be the teams that's going to play well and advance. And chemistry is all about a pecking order and having players buy in. And you don't see that with the Grizzlies, not in this bubble. I mean, it only happened once yesterday, but there's too many times throughout those 3 games where Ja and Jaren are off the floor together. They're not even on the court. One of those guys have got to be on the court at all times. They got to be. And then we could talk about the guys who aren't there, but they are options. When I look at Dylan Brooks, I equate him to like Quincy Pondexter. I'm going to use a couple of analogies if you'll bear with me. Dylan Brooks is just not reliable on both ends of the floor. And so it's up to the coach to make him understand what his role is, because when you're in this bubble and you're trying to hold on to this lead, how do you let Dylan Brooks let you lose a game? As he did with San Antonio.
Maybe twice.
Yeah.
Maybe twice.
And then with I equate DeAnthony Melton with a Jared Bayless. Jared Bayless came to Memphis as a point guard until they determined, the coaching staff said, hey, he's better off the ball. Let's just let him be a scoring guard. And what happened? Jared Bayless flourished in that role. And I think they just need to settle in with Deontay Melton in the absence of these players who are injured in that role. So I just think, not to, like I said, to disparage Taylor Jenkins, but he's learning how to manage this situation because it's all under pressure, and I think he'll grow as the team grows. But we're just seeing the youth and inexperience all the way around.
We really are. Ron Tillery, our guest, longtime NBA reporter, longtime commercial appeal beat writer for the hometown team, the Memphis Grizzlies. Ron, you knew how much Jared Bayless, when he was with Toronto before he became a Grizzly, you knew the love affair I had with him. I was infatuated with him. Yeah. And you told me, you said, slow way down. When these guys are asked to be more primary than secondary, sometimes they don't handle it. DeAnthony Melton this year as the contributor, as the satellite guy, it was great. Now kind of leaning on him, he really has been 0 for Orlando.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, going back to the coaching. Hubie Brown, the great Hubie Brown, was the first coach in Memphis with the Grizzlies who taught us about chemistry. Because as a young team that was trying to learn how to win, the leadership came from the bench. Mike Fratello carried that on. Ivoroni was a disaster because he had no culture, and all he did was allow Rudy Gay and O.J. Mayo to compete for shots and cast. They didn't play with any structure. When Lionel Hollins came in, he said, we can't play that way. We got to get Marcus Saul involved. We've got to develop Mike Conley. And then when they traded for Zach Randolph, everybody knew who was the alpha dog. So all I'm saying that to say is this. Taylor Jenkins is learning right now that the leadership doesn't come from the 20-year-olds. It's got to come from the bench.
I loved your discussion also about Dylan Brooks. And I don't know what's happened to Dylan Brooks. It's like a magic wand was waved over his head when he got his money. And I don't know if that's been the pressure or he thinks because he got his money that he's an alpha dog and he's a little older than these other guys. I'm not sure what it is. And it's not for lack of effort or a laissez-faire attitude. It's just he's not a skilled enough player to be the alpha dog. How do you deal with that?
Well, that's as a coach behind closed doors, you got to get in his face and you got to make him understand. And if he goes out on the court and he performs against your wishes, then your best tool is playing time. You got to sit him down, and you just got to make him understand that he has a role. When I talked about Ja and Jaren, there should be no shortage of pick and rolls and pick and pops with those two guys. You know, and when everybody else is on the floor, they have to play off of them. Perfect example as you're talking about Dylan. Now, you know, he made some good plays yesterday, but at the same time, he came down and took some quick threes. It was almost like, you know, he saw Grayson getting off, and he was like, "Oh, okay, it's my turn." And it's like, right. Dude, what are you doing? You know, and so you just got to rein these guys in. And speaking of leadership, when Jaren got hot, I was glad to see him look off a wide open Dylan Brooks. Even though Jaren missed a three, he looked him off and said, "A bad shot for me is a better shot for you, better than an open shot for you."
Yeah, I agree with that. But last two things as we speak with Ron Tillery, and we got to move on. But I do want to know, you mentioned Grayson Allen. They shut him out in the second half. They didn't even look his way, a guy that had played really well for them the last two games or game and a half. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they did that. And it appeared to me when they made their comeback, they were going through Valanciunas, and they stopped that too. I think that's on the coach. Give me your sense of those two guys.
Well, you know, Valanciunas obviously has an advantage inside, and particularly in that game where New Orleans is particularly soft in the middle. I mean, he gets whatever he wants down low, and a lot of times and one. Grayson Allen, he was hot. I don't know why you wouldn't continue to get him the ball in the flow of the offense because you're still playing off of Ja and Jaren. But yeah, I would rather him be shooting the ball. But as a NBA player, Grayson is going to have to prove that he can be a Steve Kerr-like, a guy that can go out and just hit threes consistently, because he doesn't do enough in any other aspect of the game to keep him on the floor. But if he's shooting threes consistently like that, he's an NBA player.
He is Ron Tillery, the original beat writer of the Grizzlies. Thank you, my friends. Stay healthy. I look forward to our discussion again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank
you, Ron.
We appreciate it. We really, truly do. This portion of our show is brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows, all right, it's a big decision. You are going to absolutely build that dream home, or maybe you're going to renovate your older home. You love the lot. You don't want to move, but you want the modern amenities. Here's your guy. Whether it's a new home or a renovation with innovation, I call it, Ken is your guy. Go to his website, kengarland.com. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He loves to work closely with his clients, ensuring they get exactly what they want and expect. That's quality construction on time, on budget. They've been doing this for a couple generations. You'll see it on that website, kengarland.com. If you've got land, you're not sure how to really get exactly what you want, Ken knows. He's been doing it forever. If you are looking for some land maybe already that's been developed, there's a new project. It's called the Leylon, a gated community by Boyle. Ken Garland's involved with it. It's on Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom homes start at $875,000. Beautiful place. Go check out Ken. You know the website. Now make the call. 751-1632. 751-1632. It'll open up new worlds for you, and you'll love chatting with Ken. He's a very interesting guy. Sees little details, big picture, all at once. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Back in a minute, we'll put a wrap on hour number 2 on this Tuesday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
I'm George Flynn, candidate for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary. This election, you'll have a choice of values. I'm a Reagan conservative, believing in family, faith, freedom, and right to life. Or two others, blindly loyal to Trump. We know people aren't always right, even President Trump. And unlike my opponents, when he's not acting with conservative values, I'll stand up to him to promote our Tennessee conservative values. I've developed real solutions for our problems, not a lot of empty promises or sound bites. I'm George Flynn. I'm a physician, I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, and I'm asking for your vote for values of family, faith, and freedom. As a physician, I can tell you that masks work to control this pandemic. I'm George Flynn, and I approve this message. Paid for by Friends of George Flynn, 2020. Gene Bryan, Treasurer.
Chad Gatlin is your Mid-South Farmers agent, and he's easy to find. Just go to memphisfarmers.com to get a fast quote or call his office at 901-237-1176. And during this wild time we're all facing, know Chad has you covered. Whether you need to file a claim, get a quote, or just talk about what he can do to give you the absolute best coverage at the best price. Chad is a Memphis man and knows the area and that everyone is different, and he will work to make sure you have everything you need and nothing you don't. Get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com or call 901-235-1176.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. The East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Closing in on the end of the second hour. We got another full hour with you from 5 to 6. We're out of here at 6 o'clock. We'll wrap up the day with Taco Bell Crunch Time. We'll also visit with Bo Marchant on the NFL as they are trying to take the baby steps for the NFL to get back to camp, and we will rank the quarterbacks in the ever so tough and competitive and sports hateful NFC South. That's Saints, Bucks, Panthers, and Atlanta. There's no love lost. They bring the passion in that division. There's a lot of passionate divisions, but that's one for sure. I think that's one a little bit under the radar. All right, I took a little bit of a shot at you, at Dave, at you, and at Drew with Ron playfully about y'all being Grizzlies homers. You're not. But the rest of the way in our picks, Dave, you have one more win the rest of the way. That's over OKC. I have two more over Utah and kind of a mailing it in Milwaukee. Hopefully mailing it in Milwaukee. Drew, you have two more over OKC like Dave, and like me over the mailing it in Milwaukee. How many do the Grizzlies need to make this easy? How many do the Grizzlies need to make this without a playoff between 8 and 9?
Well, they are up 2 games on San Antonio and on Portland, correct? I believe that's right. And they are 2.5 games ahead of the Pelicans. 3 games ahead of Sacramento and maybe Phoenix as well. So I don't think Phoenix and Sacramento are to be worried about. But Portland, San Antonio, even the Pels, yeah, those are worrisome. I think you guys were smart in the Milwaukee pick, because Milwaukee probably won't play anybody. If the Grizzlies are still in need, they'll probably win that game. I still think they're only going to win 1 or 2 more games. And this has been eye-opening. And, Ron was smart enough to see it. I noticed it after the second loss. The experience on the coach and on the players really has taken its toll. And when the games are crunch time games, what I didn't realize, and I thought that was a very insightful stat that he gave us, that the Grizzlies against teams in the bubble were 19-32 this year. Maybe we were all way, way over positive in our assessment of the way things were going. I thought with Tyus Jones and with Winslow, that would really help. They would have had all the time together in their play. And I think that has hurt. But I still think the inexperience would have really raised its ugly head.
It's not too early to be dubious or start questioning the Winslow trade, is it?
Well, the only thing that worries you, who was it? Anthony Sane that said yesterday that Zion he thought would be an issue throughout his career with health, that he would never be a consistent guy because he can't stay healthy. And I heard a good story today about when the Pelicans first got him, they actually tried to change the gait of his everyday walking.
Yes.
Because they think
to
it's
teach
hard
him to walk
on his
differently.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if that's the case and he's hard on his joints, maybe that will be an issue. But I think the same thing could be said of Justice Winslow. The guy cannot stay healthy. It's not Chandler Parsons, because Parsons actually was healthy for a while. But I'm not sure Justice Winslow has ever really played a whole year where he's been able to be healthy the whole time.
And Anthony did make that good point with us yesterday. I'm looking at the Sacramento Kings record the rest of the way. We got, not only the Grizzlies have to do something, they got to scratch. The Grizzlies, it's like in baseball when you're in a slump, try to bunt out of it. We need any kind of win out of the Grizzlies, whether the other team checks out or the Grizzlies just go out there and they're really proficient and they win the game. But the Grizzlies are also very much having to scoreboard watch. Now for Sacramento the rest of the way, well, they've got a big one on Thursday against New Orleans. It's very clear who we're far from the Grizzlies' hue, from the Grizzlies' view and the Grizzlies' angle of things. We're far were for Sacramento. And then Brooklyn don't care. I think just as much have Brooklyn win and go ahead and put them and Phoenix out there. Then they play Houston. Not likely they win that. Then they play New Orleans again. Go Sacramento. Need the Kings to go 2-0 against the Pels.
Well, I'm just beginning to think Memphis and New Orleans are just a bad matchup. You know, there's nobody that can stop Ingram. Drew Holiday is a heck of a player. If you're going to get more and more minutes out of Zion and he plays like he did last night, that's a problem. That's a real problem. And you've got to match their energy level. I'm going to tell you what really impressed me the most yesterday, particularly in the first three quarters, was the defense that New Orleans played. Their defense was by far superior to Memphis. They wanted it more. They played a very good scheme, and they basically dared the Grizzlies to shoot. The Grizzlies, like Ron said, and Ron Tillery's observations were on the money today. Grayson Allen has to be like Steve Kerr if he wants to play in the NBA, because he's not a good enough driver, even though I think he's a better driver than Steve Kerr was, but he's not as good a shooter. He's got to become that if he really wants to be a role player in the NBA. And I don't understand why they stopped going to him last night, because he's proven now in 2 games and a game and a half that he was worthy, and they just stopped doing that. That part I don't understand, and that's where I agree. You've got to point your finger at Taylor Jenkins.
We are short on time. We will continue this at 5:30 after NFL Talk with Bo Marchant. But remember this for me, if my brain skips a beat or two. At 5:30, I want to go back. I want to go back to this, Dave, and I want to ask you this question. Don't answer it now. You've got 35 minutes to ponder it. Going forward, in the future, would you rather have the Grizzlies cast of young characters and everybody, all the considerations of everybody healthy and everybody happy, or would you rather have the Pelicans cast of young characters? Keep that in mind. Also, hit us up.
I've already thought about it.
Hold your fire and hit us up at the text line, at the First Bank text line at 67129. Everybody being healthy, everybody playing that 10, 12, 13, 14-year NBA career, would you really rather have the Grizzlies youngsters or the Pels youngsters? We want your answers at the First Bank text line or at 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. 2 hours in the books. When we come back, we start our third and final hour, as we do every Tuesday, talking the National Football League. Up next, Bo Marchant.
Frontier Western Store is open and ready to serve you for all your needs in boots, apparel, pet food, and more. Frontier is proud to be a local leader here in the Mid-South when it comes to boots. Stop by the store today for an incredible selection of name brand work and dress boots. Come browse aisles and aisles of top quality boots at everyday low prices in our world famous boot showroom. Dan Post, Rocky, Durango, Twisted X, Georgia, Ariat, and many more. There are so many styles, colors, and fits available, you might need a hand picking out your favorites. Luckily, Frontier's knowledgeable sales staff will cheerfully assist you with any questions you have and ensure the proper fit of your new boots. Frontier also has an amazing selection of jeans and shirts by Wrangler, Ariat, and Carhartt, as well as a fully stocked women's boutique department with thousands of tops and dresses at unbelievable prices. New arrivals often. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Gilman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
Are you still wound up after the game? Still thinking about that one play over and over that you can't fall asleep? Sound familiar? Try ZzzQuil Pure Z's Melatonin Gummies. It helps you fall asleep naturally. Pure Z's is made with an optimal level of melatonin for no next-day grogginess. Plus, it's made with botanical ingredients like lavender and chamomile. Tastes great and is drug-free and non-habit-forming. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Melatonin Gummies, because sleep is a beautiful thing. Find it at retailers near you.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Oil change coming up? We can help you out. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Pennzoil high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $27.99. And if you need it fast, we can help you get it fast. Whether it's at home with our next day delivery or in store and curbside with our free same day pickup. The choice is yours. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions and details at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Commitment, dedication, perseverance. At FedEx, our people are our strength. Even during these unprecedented times, we are delivering medical supplies, test kits, and the things you need every day. Helping the world move forward together. Strength, what we deliver by delivering. FedEx.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Final hour on this rapidly moving Tuesday afternoon. We want you to be a part of it at 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line at 67129 First Bank text line. Any and all subject matter if you would like, but also weigh in on the question we just asked going forward. The better, younger nucleus, the Memphis Grizzlies or the New Orleans Pelicans. It looks like they are on a collision course to really build a great rivalry into the future. This hour brought to you every day by our title sponsor of this hour, and we so appreciate the great people at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. Visit their website and check out the many pleased referrals and happy customers, and look at all those beautiful cars at DeSotoAutosales.com. All the cars test-driven, checked out bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. If they don't have it on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales. You walk in, you're treated like family. Kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales. They care about your time and want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience, because they know we live in a world today that time really matters. Like over your lunch hour, you will have time to go in, find the car you want, test drive it, credit approved, paperwork completed. You can do that in 45 minutes, in plenty of time over your lunch hour and plenty of time after work and on Saturday morning and Saturday afternoons. At DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. We should be having the Hall of Fame game on Thursday night. That makes me sad, Bo, that we're not having that game or any other NFL preseason game. The NFL is still set to start September 10th. I think I got to see it to believe it, but I sure hope we have it, as camps are supposed to be starting to ramp up a little more. The opt-out deadline is Thursday. Do you think there will be a blockbuster? When I say blockbuster, I think I'm going quarterback, big-name receiver, big-name defensive end, rush in. Do you think we'll have a big-name opt-out?
I think it's possible. And the only reason I say that is I don't, we don't know the family histories or personal histories of people, that are in the household of some of these players. Matthew Stafford, I know they said he was, tested, and, we know the trials that his wife went through last year, so I don't know what her health would be or how symptomatic she would be in terms of the immune system. So, that may be something that he wants to think about. Again, and I don't know, but, you brought the question up, so I think if there's somebody along those lines where you really have to be concerned and, about your household and taking care of. Nate Soldier, from the Giants, that's a huge name. When he hit free agency, that was the prize free agent that the New York Giants coveted. And, he had to elect, to opt out because of his son and his own personal health. So to say that Thursday rolls around, we don't get another monumental name, I would say it's 50-50. I don't think we're going to have, a swarm of guys coming. But, I could see one just because there's still so many unknowns, and God forbid something happens where you elect to play the sport and something happens on the home front, and that's probably something you wouldn't probably be able to let yourself down with.
By the way, the Matthew Stafford positive they are saying now is a false positive because he got retested. I don't know what he will do. I'm with you. I think it's 50-50. I think there's a couple of big names that will probably opt out. And just so you know, it was announced today that after Thursday, if you decided that you were going to opt out, there's only two exceptions that they would allow that to occur. One is that you had a diagnosis with which you were now all of a sudden a high-risk guy. In other words, something occurred after you said you were going to play that made you more vulnerable to really having the COVID in a bad way. And the other would be if any player's family member, from death to just having COVID, was affected, then you could be opting out to be with them. So those are the two exceptions. I think that's about as fair as you can get, Bo.
Yeah, I think the NFL is doing everything they can. I mean, for the NFL side of it, they have to make sure these guys are here. Hypothetically, 3 weeks down the road, if guys didn't like the protocol that teams were doing, and you had, just say 20 guys elect to say, hey, no, you're not coming. I mean, that's a mass exodus of guys that you're not going to be able to put back. I mean, you just can't fill a roster up with 20 guys and expect to have a competitive team. So I think the NFL is doing everything they can to have a competitive balance, allow you the opportunity to leave if that's what you wish. And then again, if you get sick, some of the family members get sick, then you can, you can opt out. But I like I said, it might sound like a hardball type move under the circumstances, but it's a business. And, if you're in and they're trying to run this business competitively and competently, I guess, I think you have to say, hey, we have to have a day. And Thursday is going to be that day where these guys have to opt out. And I think it's a fair thing. I kind of side on the NFL side here, just in terms of you can't have guys just popping off each week, each day saying, hey, you know what, I'm not coming because there's just, to bring in new guys, test new guys, and to be competitive. You want a good product on the field.
Yeah, you do, because we may be far enough removed from it that most of the public doesn't remember it, though, Bo. But we know in the NFL, you can't have replacement players. You can't just have the 49ers uniforms and the Steelers uniforms and the Cowboys uniforms out there. It's got to be real professional players out there. Now, I don't want anybody to accuse me of being hypocritical, because I've said that the Cardinals need to have something in those uniforms for baseball out there by the end of this week, or we move on without them. But in the NFL, I think the difference would be we've tried it once before. We may have to try it in baseball to know the next time that we have a pandemic or the next time we have a labor problem, you can't just run anything out there. But the NFL, we tried that in '87, and that was not NFL quality.
No, it wasn't. Again, I think when you want to turn on these games that we're starting to, it's fun to, turn on and see hockey and basketball and baseball. Seeing Aaron Judge the other night pop off a couple. I mean, that was just, wow, it felt normal seeing that game. Same with the National Football League. I mean, you want to see the stars, and you especially do not want to see one particular team with all their stars, while a team that you would know would have been, competitive, now these guys, elected after this deadline, or if the deadline didn't exist, not to play. So, hopefully, again, we're all in the same boat here. Hopefully we get through this. And, again, every week there seems, there's so many unknowns as we go through, but, as much as I thought this may not get off the ground, every day we've been doing Zoom calls with the Steelers, doing interviews. Seems things are going good in Pittsburgh. Ben was on today, which was, he felt good, but just kind of getting that sense that there aren't any setbacks, at least at Heinz Field, where these guys have been working out for a week, throwing the ball, still not in pads. But, those are good signs. And so, let's cross our fingers. And when September 10th comes around, hopefully you're going to see that pigskin flying through the air, and we're going to watch some NFL football.
So you bring up Ben. We're going to be talking Hall of Fame quarterbacks in a little bit. The strength of quarterbacks in the NFC South is pretty good. There's no doubt about that. But I got to ask about Roethlisberger. He talked a little bit about his elbow surgery, and it was a pretty serious surgery. How good do you think he'll really be?
He said he feels good. He said he threw the ball a little bit more than he expected yesterday. He said today would be half, and tomorrow would be a little bit less. And then, he'd get back to, what he felt was comfortable. He said the surgery he had, he didn't know if any other quarterbacks had that surgery that he had knew of. He said there was 3 muscles instead of 2 that were, off the tendon. So, but he seemed excited. The top of the Zoom call, he even told the media, he goes, I haven't been in this situation. He goes, forgive me. He goes, I'm a little nervous. He goes, so if I take a second or two to respond, he goes, I just really kind of want to not rethink, but he goes, I really just want to think about what I'm saying to you because I haven't been in this moment in a while. But, he felt good. He said that this was a lingering problem. It was something he was dealing with. So I don't know if he knew it was going to happen to the extent where he would miss the rest of the season after week 2. But, he said that there was something he felt. He said it made a particular deep throw, the juju. And then after that is when the pain really started. And that would have been the Seattle game in week 2. Dave, if he's anything close, I'd say 90%, the Steelers are still going to be light years ahead of where they were last year in terms of quarterback, play between Rudolph and Hodges or anyone else they elect to put under center. So, he was confident. The offense, if those guys stay healthy, they do have playmakers. You have a 1,000-yarder in Juju, you have a 1,000-yarder in James Conner. Again, it's just a matter of healthy bodies on the field, and that's anyone's guess. And besides natural injuries, we see baseball. Baseball, these pitchers are going down left and right. I don't know if there'll be any similarities to some of these quarterbacks just because of throwing motions or anything. That's something I was just kind of thinking about, which I hope doesn't happen. But at the end of the day, if he's healthy, the Steelers are going to be competitive. But again, 38 years old, you can't expect everybody to be Tom Brady or Drew Brees. We saw how quick it went off for Peyton. I thought Eli extended his stay in New York. We saw his struggles. So, I think we take for granted the ageless wonder in Brady or Brees and thinking, hey, everybody can play. We talked about Phillip Rivers last week. I didn't think Phillip Rivers was the Phillip Rivers we knew. He's the quarterback that we know he's a great quarterback or once was, but I don't put him on that, that same pedestal. And I think the best years are ahead. And I don't think he has a great year this year. I could be wrong, but, and again, Ben could be in that same boat. He didn't look good at all last year. For a game and a half, he didn't get any points in the end zone. They got blown out in New England. He looked awful. And at halftime, they had 0 points on the board, and then, the Steelers actually showed life when he left the game. So, age is a different factor because we don't know how much it's going to take and rob these guys of the natural abilities that we've come accustomed to seeing.
And it always comes knocking, and it's really it's very striking how similar that it looks like the end could play out for Ben Roethlisberger with almost the same injury as it did for Terry Bradshaw. And much like Terry Bradshaw, I think Ben Roethlisberger will be appreciated more after than he probably was during.
Yeah, I think the bad thing for Ben is he played in an era where, and he put up something. He's fine. I think he led the league in passing 2 years ago. And the plays he was able to make with Brown. But it was a ground and pound team defense. The first Super Bowl was predicated on fantastic running game and a defense, and he was just kind of a young Russell Wilson, if you will. Don't make any mistakes. But he grew into a prolific quarterback. And then you're playing with these guys like Brady and Manning and Brees, who they're just putting up these astonishing fantasy stats day in, day out. And that took a while for Ben to be that guy. Ben was just a 3,800-yard passer. A la like Dak Prescott wasn't to last year. Dak throwing up $5,000 last year was kind of like a surprise. You're talking 3,900 yards, 19 touchdowns. Don't mess the game up. Just pitch the ball back to Zeke. And that was kind of the way it was for Ben for a long time. But, he grew and, they lost the Packers Super Bowl. But, he had an opportunity to be a 3-time Super Bowl winner. And you can't shake your head at 2 Super Bowl rings. And watching him play, and, I guess I'm there. I've been there for how long now watching him do his things. It'd be hard for me to say, hey, this guy doesn't deserve a bust and can, because I've seen him do things, and I know if he wasn't there doing what he was doing, Pittsburgh wouldn't have won the games that they had. So, it's anyone's guess, but, it'd be very shocked for me to imagine if Ben Roethlisberger does never end up in the Hall of Fame again.
Strange things have happened. I can't believe Jerry Kramer's still not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
No, he got in. Enough. He got in. He just got in a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, Kramer just got in, yeah.
He finally got in. But
it took too long, though. It took too long for Isaac Bruce, too, Dave.
Yeah, it took a long, long time. But I think Ben's going to get in. You mentioned something earlier that was really striking to me, that the Steelers have been together, but they have not had contact yet. So the first football game is supposed to be 5 weeks away, right? Isn't that no? There's not going to be any scrimmages. There's not going to be any exhibition games. They're just going to go out there in the field, and they have not had any contact yet.
Yeah. And I think they're allowed 14 padded practices. So,
well, there was a high school coach that was saying, you've really got to be hitting for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in order to be in condition to really hit for a full game. And that was a high school coach saying that. With young bodies, I can't imagine. There's only 14 days in shells that you can have contact. I thought there were more. I thought it was 20. But it seems to me that we're starting to close on that.
Yeah. Dave, I wish I had an answer for you for there. I mean, I agree. I think every coach, they may not want to publicly say it, but, they know that these guys need to be hitting. I mean, if you're a singer, you need to sing. If you're an actor, you need to act. If you're a chef, you need to cook. I mean, if you're a football player, you need to hit. And at the end of the day, these guys aren't doing it. I mean, you're going to see the miscues. You're going to see injuries. It's just a matter of that body gets them accustomed. You just can't show up on a Sunday on September 10th or 2 days later on September 12th or the 13th and expect, you're going to have, J.J. Watt, swatting at you for 60 minutes. It's a different mindset. But, these guys are professionals, and I'm sure these coaches are going to do everything they can to maximize these guys. And, I just going through the motions, the superstars, they know these guys don't need the reps much, and for the preseason, for the most part, you're going to see, basically 3/4 of action for your starters, and, you're going to use all the other guys. So, Pratt, you're going to miss the preseason guys, and they're going to miss that live action. And, the young guys aren't going to get that much exposure to opponents, which I think, that's the key of the preseason, seeing what these guys are made of, if you want to keep them or not. But, at the end of the day, everybody's at least in the same boat. And, the product, I put it this way, it may not be the best product we see, week 1 or week 2, but, hopefully these guys get gel and accustomed to one another as the season builds. If there is a season.
Bo, don't you think early defenses should be way ahead of offenses?
I think it's just the personnel that you're going to bring. Would I say anyone's going to be ahead of the Chiefs? No, but when I say everyone's going to be ahead of the Bengals because you got this rookie who's had basically zero ability to work with this team until about a week ago, and they're still just basically throwing balls and getting to know each other. So I think it's the teams that lack experience that are going to struggle. I think if you have a veteran group like Seattle's a veteran group on both sides of the football, so you don't expect much of a drop back there. But I think teams with new staffs or with new big name guys, even with Brady, a lot of new, and it takes time. Just and Brady's been doing his best, and we know all the trouble they was getting into for having those workouts. But they're the camaraderie. I mean, we remember back in the day, like when they would talk about Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning. Basically Peyton Manning could drop back, 3-step drop and throw the ball, and he could do it with his eyes closed. And Marvin Harrison could run the route with his eyes closed, and that ball would find him in the hands. That's a different set of scenario with some new faces.
Well, you guys,
yeah, it sure is.
You want to pick the South because this is a heck of a quarterback.
Let's do. Here. This is quarterback strong for sure. Dave, you go first in the NFC South.
I think this is the hardest group of quarterbacks to pick because you've got a mix of, Hall of Famers in there for sure, and you've got guys that, actually, if you want to go to like Jameis Winston, a guy who could still become a great player, or Teddy Bridgewater, who could become a great player. So to me, it was a hard group to really put in order. But the greatest of all time is Tom Brady, right? So how can he not be number one? But close in his own era of being in that same league is Drew Brees, and in most of these divisions, you would say he's the best quarterback, but he's number 2 in this particular division. And then Matt Ryan took a team to a Super Bowl, has had some great years. I think Matt Ryan would probably be 3rd. Teddy Bridgewater is still a guy who could end up being a great player. He gets a second chance with Carolina, and I think he'll make the most of it. But right now, I'd have to put him 4th. So I go Brady, Brees, Ryan, and Bridgewater in the best of the quarterback division.
Bo?
This is Dave's right. I mean, probably arguably the best division in terms of quarterbacks. I mean, it's hard to argue. And think about this. Matt Ryan is 35 years old. I mean, Bridgewater's 27. But Matt Ryan's 35, and he seems like a baby compared to Brees and Brady because they're in their 40s.
Right.
I'm going strictly off what I think these guys are going to do this year. And so mine's going to be different. I mean, Brady's Brady. I'm never going to argue the greatness there. But I'm going to go Ryan 1. Just this year,
Wow.
He's with the same team. He's younger. The emergence of Calvin Ridley, I think Todd Gurley's going to help. Julio Jones. I just think quarterback play this year. I'm not saying where these guys rank all time because obviously Tom Brady and Brees would be ahead of anybody.
To win games in 2020.
Yeah. To win games in 2020, I'm going with Matt Ryan, and then I'm going with Tom Brady, then Drew Brees, and then Teddy Bridgewater. And the big thing about Brees, and we're talking about the fall-off because I was looking at numbers, 41 years old. He missed one game in 2018. He missed 5 last season. Prior to that, he missed 1 game in the 8 previous years. And you could say, well, hey, that's random. But again, to me, that's a sign. And there were points, and I think we even discussed it on the show, where there's times where you thought maybe Teddy Bridgewater might, and you're never going to bench Drew Brees. It's kind of like when Bill Belichick would get upset when Tom Brady had a bad game. But you start to see just the cracks, and maybe this guy wasn't the guy he wasn't. And that's just age. I mean, Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer. He's phenomenal. He's just a witch when it comes to a guy setting that ball on fire and sizzling it down the field. But again, I just think age and the teams, I just think that Ryan is the guy amongst this class for this year.
Not Drew Brees, but Drew Barrett, your list.
Bo really just made me think because when I just started to put it down, I had Drew Brees my number 1, but I want to give Matt Ryan more respect than I have over the years, but I still just can't do it, and I love everything Bo says, but I'm going to stick with Drew Brees at number 1, Tom Brady at 2 with the new environment down in Tampa Bay, Matt Ryan at number 3, and Teddy Bridgewater 4.
I am very good. I am copy and paste off of Dave Woloshin's sheet. I am TB12 1. If he's got a pulse and he's in a uniform and he is back there barking signals for this year or any other year, I'm going to take him to a proven differently. 2, I have Drew Brees. 3, Matt Ryan. 4, Teddy Bridgewater. All right, we have the vote for Canton. Matt Ryan in Canton. Dave, yes or no?
Not yet.
Drew?
No.
Bo?
Not yet either.
I'm with y'all on not yet, but here's where he stands. In passing yardage, he's currently 10th. If we have a year, and he has any kind of year, he will move past John Elway. Roethlisberger's right in front of him. He'll need another year or 2 to pass Eli Manning. Phillip Rivers keeps moving up. Dan Marino, it feels like, will never move out. Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees at the top. There's no discussion about Brady and Brees. Baseball hardly will ever do it. I think they finally did it for Mariano Rivera with a 100% vote. Tom Brady and Drew Brees are 100% votes walking into Canton 5 years from their retirement. I said if Tom Brady, if he wins it this year, if he wins it in February with the Buccaneers at the Buccaneers Stadium, the next day the Hall of Fame should waive it and put in an active player in the Hall of Fame.
Well, with him, I guess it's kind of like a Michael Jordan type thing. Is you might have to wait 5 years, but you know that single-handedly there's absolutely no question. Matt Ryan, you might have to think about. But I think with the league, the way the league's set up now, the numbers we kind of get misstrued, and back in the day, the pioneers. Look at what Joe Namath did, and then Dan Fouts came along, and then Marino picked up that torch, and then the late 80s, 90s, the ball began to take flight, and the numbers began to expand, and now they just to see a 5,000-yard passer now. I mean, it's common knowledge. It's not an amazing feat.
It
so
is.
Back in the day, when Marino went over $5,000 second season, and Rook, I don't know which one I have, but I was thinking about like Patrick Mahomes, and he was fortunate enough to get that Super Bowl boom. But when you think about the Dolphins losing to the 49ers back in the day, and Marino's having that 5,000-yard season, 48 touchdowns, and you're thinking, this guy's in his second season, third season. How many more Super Bowls is he going to win? Not just make, but win. And then I start thinking, think about, Don Shula. You got a Hall of Fame coach. Everything was in the making, but they just never surrounded Marino with the guys to, take that next step. But, again, just kind of daydreaming on Patrick Mahomes, and, it looks like his future is going to be a little bit different than Marino. But in the moment, I think we all would have bet pretty heavy that Marino would have had at least another Super Bowl appearance.
Bo, thank you for your time today. We'll do it again next week as we get a little closer to a little more action out of camps. Thank you, Bo. Have a great week.
Yep. Stay safe, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bo. Brett, I don't know if you've seen this. You were talking about a big name opting out, and he said 50-50. I agreed with him. Denver Bronco linebacker Von Miller, 8-time Pro Bowler, all-decade
Super Bowl MVP.
He said today he has considered that he will opt out of the
I say big name.
Season.
Super Bowl MVP's big name, isn't it?
I'd say that's a huge name. This portion of the show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. It's never good timing to replace your air conditioning system. But maybe in this hot summer heat, many of these old inefficient air conditioning systems can't keep up. Is yours wheezing, not making it through? Time to call John at Conway. That's why they have air conditioning systems as low as $79 a month. You heard me. John will replace your old air conditioning system this month for as low as $79 a month if you've got approved credit. And with today's more efficient models, you save money every month on your utility bill. Just about pays for itself. So the next time you've got air conditioning problems, you call the experts at Conway. And you know you're going to get the award-winning service every time. 8,000 top-rated Google reports that have come in on Conway. You will love it. All you got to do is call 384-3511, 384-3511. First 30 callers with a 10-year air conditioning system. John Conway and crew will come out and inspect it absolutely free. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. There's some baseball news that's pretty good, and we will debate Grizzlies or Pelicans. Who's the team of the future? You can text us at 67129. We have that discussion in just a minute.
R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m., Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1. Don't miss us.
Mako is ready to fix those dents, repair that collision damage, spray on a fresh coat of paint. With online estimates, contactless service, and our best price guarantee. Come to Mako and roll out refreshed. Go to Mako.com to get started and to find a shop near you. Better get Mako.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
There's a new commissary in town in Collierville. Germantown Commissary is doubling. Yeah, they're still going to have the old Germantown Commissary by the tracks, but now there's a huge new Germantown Commissary in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levee Road. It's huge, too. There's a drive-through. There's plenty of parking. No telephone pole to get in your way. A cool patio. It's right by the track, so the tradition continues. And this is a tradition that's been around forever. That commissary is famous for hickory-smoked, slow-cooked Memphis-style barbecue. They've got a private party room at the new one in Collierville. Self-catering still continues. Party packs for $5.95. Basically, the great ribs, the great pulled shoulder, the great deviled eggs. Everything is there in Collierville and Germantown now. So there is now a Germantown and Collierville style of barbecue. It's called Germantown Commissary.
At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes decisions right here at home. Dedicated to helping you get to your better place, First Bank Mortgage. Call Daniel Mooney at 901-462-0145 today. NMLS 741022. Equal housing lender.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Very strong on this Tuesday afternoon. I don't want to jump ahead to Thursday. On this Tuesday afternoon, with a lot of breaking news, including AAC scheduling news. We will get to that, and a really ugly story out of Colorado State. Bleacher Report, they're alleging, they're reporting Colorado State accused of hiding COVID-19 cases. Players claim coaches said not to report COVID-19 symptoms and even threatened players with less playing time if they quarantine. Steve Adazio, the coach at Colorado State, also now the Coloradan reporting that as well. Multiple sources, multiple credible, reputable sources reporting that. Dave, that is despicable if it is the case and subject to immediate severing of his job.
Absolutely. If that story is true, that coach and anybody on that staff that had made those threats will be without jobs. There's no question in my mind. I cannot believe a coach would say that. And if a coach actually did, then he does not deserve to be in the game. He is way out of touch. On a positive story, and I can't wait to hear your AAC news, but on a positive story, the Marlins are cleared to play the Orioles tonight.
They
will
go
play
Marlins.
for the first time.
I'm sorry, Drew.
What was it, July 26th or something like that was the last time they played?
I don't know if I really remember when the last time the Marlins played.
I think that's right. I think it was like July 26th.
Long time ago. For sure last month.
Yeah. How about that? So the Marlins are going to play. That makes me feel better about the Cubs and the Cardinals on Friday.
Well, I hope so, and it's time to get, even if it's not a representative team, get somebody on the field. I know this is a long time ago, and it's through the prism of yesteryear and then some, but in the 1944 World Series, the Cardinals won it over in town. It played in St. Louis. All the games were between the Browns and the Cardinals. The legend has it, the only way the Browns, they were terrible. They were the joke of the sport through most of their tenure in St. Louis. Legend has it the only way they got to the playoff or to the World Series that year and won the American League is because all the other teams were really wrecked by the great players serving in World War II. And the Browns had a collection of misfits that were too old to serve in the war, but were better at baseball than the players that everybody else had. And it was the only way they got in the World Series. If you have to put an unrepresentative team on the field Friday against the Cubs, the Cardinals need to have 8 fielders and a pitcher out there come Friday afternoon or Friday night.
Well, this is not like the replacement players the NFL tried either. These are 60 guys.
It's not even close.
Roster.
That's right.
The most
not
of
even
them
close.
Are going to be major leaguers anyway, and the other guys are going to be AAA players that are trying to get in. So it is not like these are bad players.
Great point, Dave. And a difference, because I don't want anybody to accuse me, because I sure don't want to be guilty of this. I don't want to do it. I don't want anybody to accuse me of talking out both sides of my mouth. I don't want replacement for NFL, but I want somebody in Cardinal uniforms out there Friday. Here's another big difference. We've got the entirety of the NFL schedule ahead of us. We've got a short sprint in baseball. There's a big difference there.
No question. And You know, the Cubs are already at 1/6 of the way through the season.
Oh yeah,
they played 10 games.
I mean, and tonight they got Cy Hendricks going tonight, so you can just count on a W tonight.
Well, it's just about every night. I mean, they win 8 out of 10. Last time I looked, that's 80%. They're going to go 48-12.
But we can't get that math by Dave, can we, Drew? He's too good on the math. The AAC now saying that they will play 8 conference games and 4 non-conference games, a 12-game schedule. I applaud the optimism, and I hope I do for Mike Oresco and near and far, University of Memphis and other members of the AAC. It's the best conference the Tigers have ever been in football. I think that's unarguable. And I hope they do that. I hope it starts Saturday, September 15th with the Tigers playing against Arkansas State. Also breaking, this is big, breaking from the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr., meniscus tear in his left knee. He will miss the remainder of the season. We did not. Nobody had that in our forecast for Orlando, and that is too bad. And I'm not saying that it will be an excuse, but trying to even cash that ticket for the 8th seed without Jaren Jackson will be very difficult, and that's unfortunate.
When did that happen? He played the whole game last night. In the 3 games in Orlando, he averaged 25 points a game. Now, he did not rebound well. I think he had 6 defensive rebounds the whole 3 games. But the guy was playing incredibly well. I'm shocked at this because I never saw him in pain at all last night. Did you?
I didn't either. And he had a defensive stop on Zion when Zion was really doing whatever he wanted to, and he rebuffed him right at the rack in that game last night. But that is tough news. That's not part of our premise and setup for the future, because we want Jaren Jackson to get well and be a big part of the Memphis Grizzlies' future.
Don't you think now with that news they are really underdogs to make the playoffs? I'm not sure.
I do.
You know, Ron Tillery said earlier, San Antonio and Portland, this just absolutely reinforces, actually makes that more of on a percentage-wise basis, a more favored scenario than not. You just lost your second-best player on this team.
And the youth and inexperience of this team could really now be highlighted with losing that big piece, that key cog of the team. You could have a lot of players almost unwittingly go, just throw your hands up and to heck with it. Let's get out of this darn bubble and get to the 2021 season. And that would be a very natural thing. And Taylor Jenkins is going to have, it will be a hard task ahead of him to fight against that, kind of just to heck with it attitude.
Well, we'll also question now about Jaren Jackson's ability to play full seasons. He got hurt his rookie year, and was it? I can't remember what the issue was, but they had player minute limits on him, and game. He didn't play games 2 games in a row, or there were times that they sat him.
He's been in bubble wrap. He's been in bubble wrap in 2 years. Yes, it's fair until proven differently. It's fair until I see a games played in that cumulative box score that has a 7 in front of it. Yeah, and now he's not meaning to. It's not his fault. I'm sorry that it happens. I bet he didn't want it to happen. I bet he didn't want it to happen in the shutdown last year that I thought was a little much. But yes, until I see some time really logged out there, you will have to question it. 2 years, two early exits.
So let's go back to the original premise we talked about. If we're looking down the road a little bit, who's the better young team? Because these two are going to be divisional rivals, and we're expecting it to be a great rivalry between 2 cities that love to visit one another. So when you look at the Pelicans, you look at Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, Brandon Ingram, who might be the best player of all of them, Zion Williamson, throw in Derek Favors, Josh Hart, J.J. Redick, even though he's old. I'm missing some guys. like Jahlil.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know how much Reddick will be long term in this, but for short term, he fills a role that the Grizzlies have frankly never had. Do you think all the years we'd have loved to have had J.J. Reddick out there stroking threes? Dave, I don't think it's even close.
I think New Orleans is the better. I mean, let's look at the Memphis lineup. It's Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, I'm throwing in there for sure, even though he's not a starter. Then you put in Valanciunas. He may be as long-term as Reddick is.
At Reddick.
You got to throw Kyle Anderson in there, but you got to throw in Justice Winslow, DeAnthony Melton, Grayson Allen. You can throw those guys in. I don't know. Do you throw in Jonte Porter? You throw in Yuta Watanabe, Marko Guduric. If you look at all those guys, I didn't mention Josh Jackson either. I should have. But if you look at all those guys and you look at the 7 or 8 that you look at New Orleans, I think if you're trying to be objective here, New Orleans has the better of the core.
And a more experienced veteran coach. I don't know that Alvin Gentry's their guy. In 5 more years, he's 65 years old. I just don't know how long his career might want to go. He might want to go a long time. But you mentioned Justice Winslow. We know Derek Favors and Lonzo Ball can do something in the NBA. We still don't know that Justice Winslow can.
I agree. And now you have to wonder, can Winslow stay healthy? Can Jaren Jackson Jr. stay healthy? Because he's missed lots of the seasons that he's been involved in. And it's fair. Is Zion going to be able to play all the time? Because we don't know about him either. And is it my imagination, or do we just have a lot more injuries in the NBA now than we used to? And maybe that's because of pace of play, where you used to walk the ball up. Everybody runs all the time, and more players are involved in rotations. That has to be a part of it. We're stronger, we're bigger, we have more nutrition, we have more science. How are we having more injuries?
We're having it because the game is that wide open, and it's played up around the square. We every time Ja goes up, we're almost breathless for a safe landing, and the players are so athletic, they are so good. I think they are better than yesteryear, but I don't know if they're as durable as yesteryear. And you mentioned the kind of methodical play of yesteryear when it was largely a point guard post player setup with the high pick and roll. Now it's a high wire act.
It is, and maybe we've gotten so muscle bound too that it's harder on the tendons to stay attached. There seems to be more ACL injuries than ever before. That is not the case with Jaren Jackson Jr. He has not gotten too big for his body. So I don't know what the case is. I'm trying to remember. Maybe Drew will recall if you don't. What was the injury that he had his rookie year?
Last year to Jaren
Jackson Jr. Yeah, they set him down at some point.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember specifically. Anatomically, I don't.
Yeah,
I want to say it was a knee. I want to think. I'm thinking it was a knee, but I'm not exactly sure what part of the knee.
But it wasn't massive. I don't think it was major reconstruction type. And he missed a lot of games, and last year was such the write off. What of it? But now this year to go the rest of the way without him is very disappointing. And we will never know would it have occurred if we'd have been playing down the stretch in traditional March, April scheduling setup, calendar setup. We'll never know that. But we do know he's going to miss the remainder of the season, and that's unfortunate. People were so ready to get him back. It's a crusher. It is, and I'm not saying it serves up the handy excuse, but it serves up the handy excuse.
Well, it was already a disappointing bubble, and you had already seen the inexperience, and it was showing its head on floor and on bench, and
coaching. That's a bench, yeah.
Yeah, and when you couple that with the fact we're sitting here saying that you've got to have either Ja or Jaron out on the floor at all times, and now you've just lost one of those guys, and you feel bad for Jaron too, because the only way you get better and more experience is to play and to gut it out.
Yeah.
And the guy's averaging 25 points a game down in the bubble. I mean, he was probably the most consistent throughout all the games, all 3 games, than anybody else. The one deficiency you did not like was he's not defensive rebounding enough. But other than that, you hit that big shot over Rudy to tie the game the other night, making big plays. He did not have a good start last night, but he was coming back into form. This is a crusher, and I don't know when it happened. That's the most amazing thing.
It is. If you haven't heard, again, we'll repeat that Jaren Jackson will miss the rest of the year. Left knee meniscus tear. It will cause him to miss the remainder of the bubble, and if there are playoffs beyond that, he will miss that. When we come back, we wrap up this Tuesday afternoon. We do it with Taco Bell Crunch. Now, we got a couple other loose ends that we'll tie up before we get out of here, but you're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
Mako is ready to fix those dents, repair that collision damage, spray on a fresh coat of paint. With online estimates, contactless service, and our best price guarantee. Come to Mako and roll out refreshed. Go to Mako.com to get started and to find a shop near you. Better get Mako.
As you get back to business, small things can make a big difference. Like marking safe distances with floor tape and posting reminders to wash hands. As always, Grainger is here to help, offering supplies and solutions for every industry. Free access to product specialists, 24/7 support, safety recovery guides, and more. It's part of our commitment to help you adapt and recover in these challenging times. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Crunch time coming your way in a minute. This final portion of the show is brought to you by Homer. Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, also a home of Genesis of Olive Branch. And the 2021 models have started to arrive. The one thing you know for sure, when you're getting this technology, you're getting something durable. You're getting something high-tech. It lasts. That's why you get a limited lifetime powertrain warranty on all the new vehicles, 100,000 miles for the most part. And you're getting a 3-year, 36,000-mile maintenance package on all the new Hyundais and all the new Genesis cars. And these Hyundais are so good. Well, the Tucson was ranked the 2020 Compact SUV of the Year by J.D. Power, the Veloster, the 2020 Compact Sporty Car, #1. And Auto Trader named Hyundai the best non-luxury certified pre-owned program. And you know what? You get a powertrain warranty on Hyundai certified pre-owns up to 100,000 miles. That's how much they think of their product. And I mentioned those 2021s coming in. Wait till you see the SUV that you're going to get from Genesis. So many reasons why you go to the place that takes care of you. The number one place, I think, they've set the bar for the way car business should be done. All you got to do is get on Lamar, first exit Mississippi Craft Road, turn left, and you'll see what I'm talking about at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. It is crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is Geraldo. It is crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo! Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Well, I learned today late in the show just crushing news about the Jaren Jackson Jr. injury. Last year it was a deep thigh bruise. Thank you, Drew. It was deep thigh bruise last year. Now the meniscus in his left knee this year. I hate to see the young guys hurt, and it was very reminiscent of last night seeing Mike Soroka's Achilles blow out on him for the Braves. He's a great young pitcher. Superstardom ahead for him and Jaren Jackson Jr. And Dave, it is why I defend they get every penny they can get. As long as somebody will pay it, the market bears it. They should deserve everything, because one misstep and it all could be over. What'd you learn, Dave?
That news on Triple J is just, it is crushing. It truly is, because he's been playing, as I said, I think of all the guys, he's probably been the most consistent in the bunch down in the bubble. So that is a crusher for the Grizz. I was a little surprised at the news we learned today that the AAC has said they're going to go with an 8-4, because the presidents of the universities are meeting tomorrow. So this news comes out a little bit ahead of schedule. And I'm geared up because Tiger's geared up. He just said he's been waiting for this moment. He goes, we got a lot of big events starting from here. So that was a little diss at Memphis. I don't think he meant it that way. A lot of big events starting from here, so looking forward. This is going to be a fun test for all of us. The rough is up. The fairways are much more narrow. I've been trying to prepare for the 3 majors, trying to figure out my schedule and training programs and playing prep and the things I need to work on for each major venue. It's just a different calendar order and different time of the year, but this is a big run for us coming up here. I've been gearing up for it.
Drew, write it down with the 4th pick tomorrow at 4 o'clock with John Goen. Dave takes Tiger Woods. Very good, so we can now plan ahead. Dave takes Tiger. Glad you let us know, Dave.
I was trying to make that aware of that for you, my friend.
No. Done without handle Shohei Ohtani. I doubt he ever pitches again. 4-3 in his career, 3.31 ERA in 2018. Missed last year pitching, and this year the 37.80 ERA. 42 homers, 130 RBI batting. But even his batting could be affected. I think they have horribly mishandled him. Okay, the bar was a little high on the Babe Ruth comparisons, but he was can't miss it so far because of injury. He has missed. What is it you could have done with that, Dave?
Yeah, and I'll be surprised, because Japanese players usually do not get injured. The way that they train,
play forever
in Japan, they play, and Japanese players who've come here, all you got to do is look at Seattle. They've had long careers. I am really surprised, and it's unfortunate. It really is. I could have done without the news that Rafael Nadal won't play in the U.S. Open because of COVID concerns, even though New York City has definitely tamed down. It's, I think, a little surprising, but of all the players, and it's pretty much a solitary sport because, you got to have a player to play against, to hit against, but you're really socially distant if you're playing singles. I'm surprised as many tennis players have really decided to shut it down this year as they have.
I am too. Dave, we will visit with you again tomorrow. Have a great night tonight, okay?
I shall, and hopefully I'll have some info, and I'll be in there tomorrow.
We hope so, too. Thank you, Dave. I will keep a close eye. We will keep a close eye. Live from the PGA Championship in San Francisco on Golf Channel. Also the fallout from the Jaren Jackson Jr. news. It's devastating. We look so forward to the bubble and hopefully to have a good run for the Grizzlies after that bad start, and then even worse news. If you don't think it can get worse, it always can. We'll keep an eye on all that. Golf, first major, it starts on Thursday. Dave just talked about Tiger Woods looking forward to playing. All eyes will be on Tiger. When he plays, they are. And a lot of eyes will be on Memphis winner Justin Thomas and Memphis runner-up Phil Mickelson. All-day hockey, all-day baseball, all-day NBA, it continues. It beats the heck out of virus talk and the real news out there, even with the bad news for Jaren Jackson. We got a lot of sports going on, which makes it a lot better than it was in April and May. Big games in the bubble continue with Portland and Houston tonight. Go Houston. If we've ever pulled for Russell Westbrook, tonight's the night to do it if we're still holding out for hoping for that 8th seed. It is really flickering in the hope for that. Lance Lynn on the mound for Texas tonight against the A's. We'll see about NFL opt-outs. Von Miller, that was big news that he's opting out. MVP of Super Bowl 50 in Santa Clara when the Broncos defeated the Carolina Panthers in Peyton Manning's last game in the year that Cam Newton was the MVP. I was there, and Von Miller was the best player on the field by far that day, thus the MVP, but he won't be playing this year. A lot to keep up with. It moves fast, doesn't it? And we're glad you're with us every day. Thank you so much to our listeners. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Dave, thank you for Dave and for Drew. I'm Brett. Everyone have a safe, happy Tuesday night, as much as we can be happy with the devastating news about Jaren Jackson. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Hey, we understand. With everything that's happening, with all the new regulations, maybe you're not ready to come and hang out at Sweetgrass to catch a ball game. We want you to, we really do. And we're open for you to do